right, so
We're back with the blue cap.
we're finally back with the malfunction that we're having. So episode 39, we have a special guest, Luca. I'm not gonna say your last name. I'm just gonna call you Luca R.
All right.
He's like, all right.
That's fine.
Don't say the last name.
and then-
Innocent.
Yeah, and we also got Michael.
What up? What up? What up?
Sitting down like you're faded, bro.
Hey man, I'm maxing and relaxing. Like I don't put my feet up on this table.
Oh Lord, please don't.
Okay. Nah,
So-
that'd be disrespectful.
So, I know most of you guys have probably watched our bigger picture video talking about the economy, talking about, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, talking about our economy, you know, all of our protests that's been happening and stuff like that. Also, we, you know, having the injustice that we're having, and just a lot of shit that's going on with the government, and we're seeing it from time to time, and they're giving it out, the information, plain and day. Like, it's just like they're expecting something for us to awaken, and it's just like, and I don't feel like some people are waking up to it. I just think like people are just saying, oh yeah, we're in a plan. Like, I'm calling it the pandemic. This is definitely planned. This is hella. No, this is honestly officially like planned at this point, because nothing is going according to the books, especially if you plan something. Because I feel like if you plan on something, no one should know what your true agenda is, right? Or the overall plan or the overall picture. So it's kind of very surprising how all of this is unfolding, and how all of this is happening. Like, you know, like I feel like, you know, we have been a part of, like, you know, going to school and seeing all the history and stuff like that. But now we're actually partaking the history and being in it. And a lot of people that thought that, you know, this is what, you know, our true government and our economy is supposed to be run are now, you know, somewhat are awakening. Some people are not. But we want to give that full awareness of what America really is. You know, not the, oh, let's make America great again, or America is the most greatest opportunity. No, it's really not, you know? So we got to give them the real reality for what America stands for, what it is.
Absolutely. I think, you know, it's important that we recognize before something can be truly great, we have to recognize the problems that we have, you know, within this country as a whole. You know, and I am a patriot through and through. My father is an Italian immigrant. You know, I'm definitely first generation American, and you know, seeing everything happening with I would say in our country, the narrative that's being pushed through the media, I'm saddened at the way so many millennials are feeling, you know, about what's going on within this country. It's almost as if people don't care, or people don't realize what's happening. You know, the majority of the people I talk to are too focused about their, you know, their Instagram likes, or their, you know, or their views, or, you know, too concerned about the opinion of others to even focus on what's going on. We're a generation that is, I guess, lost in content.
Yeah.
You know, we bowing down to whatever CNN says, whatever the media says, whatever Instagram says, whatever your favorite company says, you know, and we're taking everything at face value.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people I'm sure that you speak to, you know, think that everything in the world is exactly as it seems.
Yeah.
When we've already confirmed, you know, that the data from China is skewed. We've already confirmed the data from the CDC is skewed. We've already confirmed that the WHO is corrupt. Now we have companies influencing, you know, these narratives that the media are pushing to protect themselves, and to protect themselves from the PR storm that would be created, let's say, if someone were to get sick in company X, you know, and they didn't take necessary precautions. But that's influencing, you know, people's perception of what's the famous word? quote unquote, the new normal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna lose my shit if I hear someone say new normal again, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's causing it's causing and creating that narrative. You know, when companies are influencing, you know, people's lives, telling them what to do, what to wear, how to do it, you know, where to stand, which way to go about things. Last time I woke up, I was in a free country, correct? All right, you know, and then you have companies who are doing the right thing and recognizing that a lot of these governors do not have the constitutional legislative authority to mandate, you know, everything that's going on in local economies and the masks and this and that. And there's definitely a bigger picture here. You know, what that bigger picture is, I'm still not certain. I just know that it seems like that the agenda, quote unquote, is definitely divide and conquer, not unify. I think that we, as Americans, we're all united right now in uncertainty. You know, we're all united in fear. But fear, like one of my mentors told me, has two meanings. You know, you can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. So I think we all need to ask ourselves, what are you going to do in your life when you're faced with adversity? What are you going to do in your life when you're faced with ignorance? Are you going to, I guess, devolve, you know, and become a primitive individual who isn't going to think things through and who's going to continue to live life blindly? Or are you going to educate yourself and evolve and grow, you know, and understand what's going on, and do not talk out of ignorance, you know, but try to come from a place of understanding? And that, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. That's what the Black Lives Matters movement is about. That's what a lot of these champions of justice are pushing. And I'm not advocating the violence, but what I am advocating for is a fight for justice, truth, and understanding. I mean, that's where I'm at with that. And I just, my prayer is that, and I say this as a Christian man, is for our generation to wake up. You know, for people to understand and realize what matters in life. Because at the end of the day, your likes on Instagram aren't going to matter. I was in the restaurant business for so many years. You know, before, you know, I started companies and did various other endeavors. And the thing that almost brought tears to my eyes is I would see families, you know, and I would see friends all hanging out at a table, focusing and texting people that aren't even there, you know, to enjoy that moment. And, you know, blind to anything that's going on around them. And that's definitely, you can use that same scope and that same picture, you know, as a macro view towards our society as a whole. It's, you know, we're clouded by content. We're blind right now.
Bro, I'm just gonna start off by saying, holy shit, this first 5 minutes has been extremely fire.
I told you.
So
What's gonna happen?
yeah,
I'm gonna bring out all the spicy emojis.
you have summarized in the past few minutes of what you've said in a way more articulate way than what me and Ken have been saying for the past maybe 4 or 5 episodes, right? And it's funny first, but
Why you gotta decredit me like that?
I'm not decrediting you, I'm decrediting myself at the same time.
Hey, we got to keep it fresh, right?
But even before I even go into anything, first off, thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate that. And I know that people listening, you know, I don't know if you want to give your title or anything, you can if you want, it's up to you, but thank you for everything that you do. And, you know, I really appreciate it, because without people like yourself, we wouldn't be in this, like, in the position with as much freedom as we do have, right? And it's funny that you mentioned freedom, because where we're geared towards now, how you talked about, where people are not awake right now and they decide to devolve and move into a primitive state, so to say, right? That's leading, if I'm not mistaken, that's leading more towards a fascist, ultimately a dictatorship within the country, correct?
Absolutely.
And that's completely against what our country had been founded on. Not that it was founded on anything that was legitimate anyway, but it does have its good points, right? It does have its good points. It has its baselines. It has its foundations that, used correctly, we can build it to what we really need to. It's just unfortunate for myself, in my opinion, that it's almost like we need conflict to keep everything going, right? Nobody can just be just calm, you know? If everything were calm, that means everything is on an even keel level, right? And everybody is prospering, everybody's succeeding, right? Everybody is happy, everybody's good. But then as soon as that happens, we've got some form of conflict happening, right? So, I mean,
that's like kind of like the whole issue, because that's not a great selling point for having everyone happy and succeeding, because they need a portion of, you know, capitalizing on that. And which is pretty sad, because just like even on the most simplest things in life, you know, they always find a way or angle it that way to capitalize on it. So like, you know, it's really sad that is what really America is capitalizing on conflict. You know, without conflict, you know, what is America? Because if you look at it from our history, there's always been conflict. We have many wars, many tensions, many protests, right? And that has always been the capitalizing setting every single time.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there's, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm sure you've met people, you know, in your life that seem to thrive and prosper, you know, on chaos. I think that's very similar to what's going on right now. And I genuinely do believe, because I've met people in very high positions of power. I do believe that, you know, a lot of our politicians are doing, you know, what they think is best.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of hope for a lot of our leaders out there, but I think that just with what is happening, you know, with police brutality and everything, we need to get to a point in this country where you are not penalized and you're not punished for, you know, calling out an injustice.
Yeah.
All right. That's everything at its core. It all comes down to culture, right? You know, so if you're in a culture that frowns upon you doing the right thing, that's a problem. And that's a problem in our corporations. That's a problem in our political system. That's a problem in our city systems, our municipalities. I find it very interesting that everyone wants to talk about the administration, you know, that we have currently, and you know, how things would be different if it was this way or that way, or this way or that way.
I think it's just by one person.
But at the end of the day, right, we're talking
it's
the executive branch of government. I said the same people who are gonna scream and yell, oh, you know, the POTUS isn't doing this, POTUS isn't doing that, and then, you know, Obama wasn't doing this, and then Bush was this, or like, you know, they're screaming about everything. But at the end of the day, those are the same people who think that voting in their cities is
going to make the change.
It's not going to do anything.
I am one of those that's voting.
I haven't voted in so long, even when Obama was even running for president.
And I have to say, it matters when it comes to your city. I'm a strong believer in voting, in the sense that, you know, if you're going to be a person that goes out and votes, and like, don't focus on the highest seats of power, right? Because at the end of the day, your city council members, your senators, your representatives, those are the people that are writing laws that are directly influencing your life. So that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that the big focus is, you know, always in the big seats, in our country, right? You know, your president, vice president, etc. But at the end of the day, everyone, you know, screaming and getting blue in the face about, you know, what's going on in the highest positions of power, you know, politically, not corporately, as far as, you know, businesses and whatnot. We can get into lobbyists. That's another discussion. But it's it comes down to, you have to go out and really influence your community if you want to see change. Right. And you're not going to do that by sitting on your ass, you know, complaining about life, or worshiping the freaking obelisk of wokeness. You know, like that's not going to do it. That's not going to do anything. You can talk to your blue in the face, but if you're not going to go out and be like, oh wow, like things are the way they are in our police systems because this is our mayor, this is our chief of police, this is our sheriff. Change those things.
Yeah.
Those things are going to influence.
And I feel like those change has to come with unity, not, the people that I see, especially like, all I gotta say is that they're capitalizing on social media, they're capitalizing on the media outlets, Yes, they only want to show what they want to show, but like, if you look at it from the bigger scale, we have the full control advantage, right? Without us, there's no selling point, there's no views, they're not making any money from that point. We are the catalyst for them to be putting anything that's on the air. So instead of being on social media and posting this, that, blah, 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 start showing your face of unity. How about you gather people coming in together and be like, hey, look, let's all have a group discussion and let's have it publicly live. Let's discuss like how we could make a change and a difference in our community, how we could get everyone on the same page where mutual growth could actually start to develop and people could start being more aware and right. So when that consistency starts to show over and over and everyone's gonna be like, damn, like I want to be a part of this. Like this is something that we could actually come together.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely.
But my problem is where a lot of people are just posting the same shit. You guys been doing it for so damn long. You guys look at, celebrities that are not gonna look down or even support your cause. Like you guys are rather support a person that's selling a $5 lipstick that would never look good on you. Like, that doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I think it's incredibly important to realize that everything is we the people.
Yeah,
right.
It comes with all of us together.
And that's
the only change. The government's not going to do anything.
Exactly.
It comes with all of us together.
It's we the people, and I think people need to remember that because I firmly believe that with a lot of things that are happening, our founding fathers would be turning in their graves right now. And that's for me the vibe all year.
Yeah,
we the people.
Yeah.
With everything that's been happening between COVID and protests.
Yeah, but it really got to start with the attacking with the black community because like, man, it's a subject that has gone through generations after generations after generations. It's just like, damn. Enough is enough, like
Well, exactly. I mean, like I told you, Ken. My great grandfather was a slave. So that's something that's very real for me. What's been happening in our country? It's pretty sad, And the only way we can really go forward is through, like I said previously, understanding, truth. Education. Yeah. Within the black community, I think it isn't just the police. I think we also need to change ourselves.
Yeah.
Why is it that we tell our little black boys and little black girls that the only way to get out of the hood is through music and
athletics
and sports? Yeah. Where being an educated black person, being a part of black excellence, you're called Uncle Tom. Me being a conservative black man, you're called a Carlton nigga. I mean, I was called everything in the book. I was never black enough.
Yep.
Because for
or if you're too intelligent, then you're not black enough.
Exactly.
So you gotta fit into a category where that's kind of what we've always been through generations.
Yep. I mean, it's I think it has to. It's all that brings me back to culture, man.
Yeah.
It's we have to change the culture.
Yeah.
Police need to change their culture.
Yeah,
politicians need to change their culture. The black community needs to change our culture. Moderate white people have to also change their culture
and be way more aware as well.
I had friends where I straight up told my friend, I had calls, I mean, from all over the map. People in positions of power, people, everyday people. Oh, Luca, I'm standing with you. I'm standing with you. I'm standing with you. And I straight up had to tell one of my buddies. I said, we had this conversation a couple of years back with Trayvon Martin. I said, but when it wasn't affecting your life, wasn't affecting your 401k, and wasn't affecting your business, you didn't care.
No.
I said, when everything was happening to Kaepernick, I said, you didn't care. You didn't care. And I was like, where were you 5 years ago?
Yeah, there was no acknowledgement.
I said, what is the difference now? I said, because it's threatening the order of things.
Yeah.
I said, and it's threatening your economic status and your 401k. I said, now all of a sudden you're in the fight with me.
Yeah.
And so
it really goes to show
tough,
you
man.
that
It's
like
tough.
our generation has truly been just selfish. Honestly, there hasn't been a lot of selflessness, like, you know, where a lot of people are now just starting to have all these fundings. Oh, support this. I'm like, you guys are only doing it now because the money's not directly feeding your families and hitting your bank accounts. You know, there's no one is different in this scenario. We have all going through these tough times together, but it really took for everything to releasing a false disease that was planned, right? Having the world completely shut down, no entertainment, nothing. Just you trying to go to work or try to, you know, get everything in order or get a stimulus check. For you to really open your eyes that you're seeing what is really fucked up to one Pacific race, right? That's been going over countless of times. Even when everything was running, this shit was still happening. But everyone's just like, oh, okay, just brush it over. Don't take no affirmative action.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then again, it goes back to our culture. Like, we need to be really more educated. Like, we need to stop being, you know, the typical genre. Like, because if you look at it, like, you look at, you know, like the NBA, you look at, you know, major leagues, you look at even like hockey, all these sports are owned by white people. We only have one owner in the NBA, and that's Michael Jordan, right?
We need to stop telling
And who capitalized on Michael Jordan's success?
Yeah. Jerry Krause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, right?
Yeah, so like it just go for Phil Knight, man, by one individual. But like it's just we need to start taking it all. Like no one is holding us back from us owning land, you know, getting into real estate, you know, like not being the typical categorized of just, oh, you either being a rapper, and guess who owns those labels?
It's I had a conversation with a little black boy not too long ago, and it'll stick with me for forever.
Yeah,
because he was you know, he was asking me about the things I did in my life, you know, and he's like, I was like, what's your dream? He's like, man, I wanna play in the league and this and that. And I said, I looked at him straight in the eye and I said, why would you play when you can play and own a team? I said, or own the team. I said, you play 2K. You know, he was telling me about all his stats and you know all the highlights and this and this and that. You know,
he's very relatable.
And he was so into it, and I could see that spark. And I was like, but I already saw that he just thought that his position in life
it's just tunnel vision.
Was to be a player.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, why don't you own a team? And he was like, wow, like he's like, you really think I can own my own team? I said, absolutely. I said, why wouldn't you be able to?
I think part of that, there's a few things that I wanted to touch on over the past, 5 or 10 minutes or so. But I think to answer that question, I think part of that is the mentality of being able to earn a few $1 million rather than spend $400 million. The $400 million spending on a team is something that is more of a dream and less relatable than being able to make $1 million in one season, in 82 game season or 162 game season, whatever sport you're in, right? So the million is the easiest attainable rather than spending the 400 million. I mean, look at LeBron James. When you take LeBron into play, or even Shaq, right? Shaq's reached the $400 million mark, right?
Absolutely.
But it takes 152 five guys. It takes a 18-year career, right? Whatever, however many years it was. He's retired, after 16 years? So there's a lot of work that has to be put into it, and a lot of the times that work is always frowned upon because that low hanging fruit of, ooh, I can make $1 million if maybe I just go to practice every single day, become a star. But what's not understood is that when you make it to the league, in the NBA, you're one of like 400 people, right? Think how many people I mentioned this incorrectly on the last podcast. There's 300 million people within the U.S. 336 million, right? I gave the wrong number last time, but 336 million, and there's 400 people in the NBA, right? So the chances of making it to the league are slim to none, especially when you're talking about specifically with the NBA. You've got 2 rounds in the draft.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Now baseball, you've got 70 rounds, right? But you've got single A, double A, triple A, major leagues, right? So you've got different stages to go through.
And as contrast, after you spending 7 years in an organization before you make that big money. So
it kind of generates the conversation and topic for, if I'm talking about athletes, it's Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray chose the NFL. Why? Do you have any idea?
More, I would assume more money.
Up front. Because he got a huge deal, and he's going to make his NFL money a lot quicker than starting in AAA and moving up to the major leagues for the Oakland A's.
Yep.
He was a top 10 pick. He was number 1 in football, but he was number 9 in baseball. He's the only person ever to be drafted in the top 10 in both sports. The more money and the more guaranteed portion, when you think about baseball, when you've got Miguel Cabrera, you've got JD Martinez, right? These guys have like $200-300 million contracts, right? Clayton Kershaw, $300 million. And his back is the worst in baseball, and he probably will not ever be the same. He hasn't pitched a full season in 2 years, right? But he's still earning that money. That money is guaranteed.
Baseball is one of the few sports you can do that.
And what happens with football? You don't play, you don't get paid.
You don't get paid.
But you get that paycheck up front. So circling back, I think that's the mentality coming up from that is it's the quickest come up, right? Everybody wants the quickest come up.
Yep.
and that's the mentality that we're so used to.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. And bringing that back to my point,
Yeah.
it's culture, right? So when are we going to make the decision to stop, telling our children to reach for the immediate low hanging fruit? You see what I'm saying? Like it's a big goal. I understand. I'm not discrediting anyone in the NBA. I mean, I think I have a lot of respect for anyone who can perform consistently, at that level of athleticism over and over and over and over again. I mean, you look at Steph Curry or whatever. It's a masterpiece of basketball to watch him hit that 3 in the same spot every time consistently. That's incredible, but too many people I've met, in my own race and that young kids that I've mentored or whatever, like the immediate, it's always the immediate, it's never, I want to buy 700 acres of land, and get into real estate and then start and then buy a team and continue my love for the sport or whatever. We're taught from a young age to think that we always have to be working for someone.
Yeah.
absolutely.
We always have to be working for someone. And that, think about it, man. Think about the institution of slavery. Think about where we are today. Still being traded.
Yeah.
It's legally.
It's honestly
With just millions of dollars behind it. But
it's just basically evolved in a digital platform.
correct.
It's what I would refer to it as rewarded slavery.
Yeah.
It's slavery with a form of a reward at the end where, yeah, you're going to get paid. You're going to be able to buy the big house. You're going to get an endorsement, right? But at the same time, like you said, you could be traded. You know what I mean? You're traded with a value. You actually put a value on what you do. For years, even being just a huge LeBron James fan, even outside of it, I've always had the conversation, if LeBron ever got paid what he's truly valued at, and this goes for everybody, because the word jobs is just over broke, right? You get paid. You never get paid for your full value. I don't care what job you have. You never get paid the full value of what you actually bring when you work hard, right? That's where the entrepreneurship comes in, because then you can set your own value, right?
Correct.
But until I mean that doesn't happen in any of the leagues. The leagues are owned by a specific individual, and you can trade that individual over and over again, however many times it is. I mean, some people have played for 9, 10, 12 different teams, right, before they make it out of the league. But that's just, to me, that's like a reality TV version of what is really going on, right? It's there. We don't necessarily care about it because these guys are making millions upon millions of dollars, right? But this is also why I respect the movement and change that LeBron James did within not just basketball, but sports. And what he did is he changed that narrative and said, you know what? I'm going to choose where I'm going to go. I'm going to choose who I'm going to play with. And guess what? I'm going to choose whether I want the big contract or the small one to get the people that I want around me, right? He changed that narrative and put the control into the players' hands back in 2010. And he got chastised for it.
Yep.
You know, when everybody saw the decision, I think the decision, I don't care about the show. He made $5 million for that Boys and Girls Club, and people chastise him for it, right? He changed the narrative to put control back into the players' positions where the majority of the leagues, let's be honest, they're black, right? And now there's decisions that can be made in the palm of those players' hands to say, look, I'm going to go for what I'm valued, and if I'm not going to get it, I'm going to hold out. I don't care because you're going to need me more than I need you at some point, right? So you have these holdouts. You have these contract negotiations. Granted, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be making money off of these people at a higher position, these owners. But at the same time, there's still some form of control, and that's progress.
Yep.
We can't turn away from progress. And I think that's where a lot of people decide that they, like, let's take the protest, for example. The media doesn't necessarily show as much as the protests they did 2-3 weeks ago, right?
They don't.
There are some going on.
The only thing they were pushing hard,
Still going on in Phoenix.
yeah, it's still going on in Phoenix. The only thing that they stopped was just because the rioting was the major catalyst for them to view. But since that slowed down and that plan was just like, all right, enough is enough, you know, which I think everything was planned on that. A lot of people were paid, especially to, you know, destroy property, which, you know, affects all of our citizens that live in certain areas that are going to have to pay for all those damages. Like, you know, like we're here and Apple got broken down by people from Cali.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
So
34 people that
affects
rioted
us.
here, that robbed the mall. 34 people got arrested that are from California.
yeah. So that affects us. Now we can't even go to Apple and get what we want. Like, you know?
We couldn't even bring the students into the office
Yeah.
because the whole mall was vandalized. That affects small businesses.
Yeah.
Black-owned small businesses, right?
Yep.
Nobody cares. Like those people didn't care because they weren't educated on it, right? But as far
That
as
becomes like one's greatest downfall is not being educated.
absolutely,
You know, being a citizen, especially in America, and you're living life and you're not educating yourself, you're contradicting how you want to be perceived as a person.
But how? Here's my comment to that. How isn't it crazy that for any legislation to be created, you know, in support of black people, why is it that we have to riot to get that legislation? Now, I don't believe in violence at all.
Yeah.
You know, as far as, I mean, I believe in. I take that back. I believe in violence, you know, when violence is warranted. When it's not warranted, I absolutely do not condone it. But I do find that interesting. I was just having a conversation with my sister who's a PhD and has done incredible things in the school districts in California. And, you know, historically speaking, Civil Rights Act was passed after Martin Luther King's assassination. You know, then you have Watts riots, you know, and then baby prison reform was passed, right? And so here we are now, today, and a whole bunch of stuff happened in between that. But the point is, why is it that we have to go to the extreme in this country for any legislation to be created?
So my response to that question is there's twofold to it. The consistency isn't there. So something I've told this to my wife multiple times because there's certain things she'd be like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Not necessarily out in public or, in this bigger stage, but I'm talking about local between me, her, and our family, right? Why did this happen? I'm like, look, it takes a drastic situation for something to change if you don't have consistency. So the fight is always there at one point, and then there's people that decide they want to die it down. Instead of growing, if we grew the fight, if we kept consistent and became bigger, then it would force people to listen. It would force legislation to listen, right? I think the other part of it, though, is the sense that there's just, like I said, conflict controls a lot of shit, right? There needs to be conflict for ratings on TV. There needs to be conflict for things to sell. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you right now, I can't tell you how many advertisements I have for companies that I've bought clothes from that are now promoting t-shirts that are BLM, Black Lives Matter, right? And it's for that movement, but they never had that clothing line beforehand, right? That conflict creates commerce. And that's unfortunate because people's lives are at hand. There are people, there are kids
that have died and no justice has been served.
Yep.
So we're seeing countless times over and over again, these people are hands straight killing and there's no justice. So they want to talk about America and want to be great again, but you guys can't even solve the most recent events that has occurred. And then you want people, and then they want people to be like, oh yeah, like, let's ignore what that happened and let's just focus on how we could make that change. But there's no change that actually happens.
Yeah. So let's.
Honestly, like I'll add this before you talk, but I feel like we're living life on a monopoly board.
Yeah.
It's good.
Let me. I wanted to throw this quote out here, and I think it's definitely a good talking point, and we'll further develop, everything we're talking about. So this is a quote by famous Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I've almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. And then I'll read my response, which basically a lot of big people commented on. So this is my response. There are many of you on here that need to read this over and over again until it sinks in. As a person of color in this country, my fight is for justice and understanding. I'm truly saddened at the rhetoric that has come out of the mouth of many of my white peers. It does not matter how many black friends you might have, or how many black people you know, or how black your neighborhood was. Yep. You do not know what it is like to be black in America.
You don't understand that feeling.
Even when we protest peacefully, we are criticized. When a person of color uses his stature and position as a platform to champion justice, we are criticized. Yep. Why is it that the screams and cries of black mothers and fathers in this country are only heard when our community takes radical action? Mm-hmm. I do not condone violence, but there is a reason why all of this is happening. Time and time again, it has been proven that black lives have not mattered in this country. Nope. Therefore, all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. As I watch video after video after video of law enforcement abusing their power, the culture within law enforcement, I had to change to the next page. The culture within law enforcement refusing to change despite what is happening, I truly feel disgusted. I have many friends who are great cops, but they have also shared with me the pressure that comes with going against your own. That's what we were talking about, culture, changing that culture. Mm-hmm. The lack of moral principles and ethics are at an all-time high at this current juncture in our society. They would rather arrest thousands of Americans than arrest one of their own. We need to call all the incredible police officers to the forefront and ask them to do the right thing and weed out the deplorable police officers that they serve with. We must change the culture in the Black community and law enforcement. We need to have that dialogue. And that's basically sums up where I'm coming from.
And I agree with that 150%, because last night Ken and I were actually talking, and I told him, just from my perspective, I said, I don't like any cop. I don't care who you are, because if you're one that is still holding that badge, what I wanted to see that hadn't happened outside of, like, what was it, a week and a half, 2 weeks into the whole situation, the first thing I saw happen within, I think it was Flint, Michigan. I wanted to see an officer take his badge off, put it on the ground, and say, I'm fighting, because this is not right. This whole situation is not right. When someone finally gives in and says, hey, I'm done with this, I'm fighting for what's right, and it needs to come from that side, then at that point, more cops are going to step up, okay? You needed one person to actually start it, and then there are a couple of them that stepped up as well, right? It stopped. We don't see it on TV, of course. I do believe that there's good hearts within the police community, but your actions tell me different if you're not one that can recognize what's out there so easy and still step up and do something.
Yeah.
But the question that happens, I feel like when it comes down from the police force into just a regular scenario, and I asked this to Ken yesterday, I said, let's say Clive, Noah, and your mother were in a comparable situation, right? And you've got millions of people in the same situation, right? And you were the one that had to make the decision to save which one. Only one group could be saved. Which one are you going to save, right? That decision is extremely, extremely hard, right? It's extremely hard. And it was a rhetorical question because I didn't want him to answer it, but he was like, damn, that's an interesting question. Like it was just something that kind of just came out. And I believe that that's the type of scenario that a lot of the good-hearted cops and police officers have. They have that conflict, right? In some situations, to make the bigger change, there's got to be a smaller sacrifice, right? And that always tends to be needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that smaller sacrifice, because what's going to end up happening with these officers, and the reason why it came up, we were talking about a case that I had watched on TV where a black woman police officer stopped her partner from beating up a apprehended black man. He was already in cuffs. He was already arrested, and the male cop was beating the shit out of him, right? Yeah. And she came up and she stopped him. She lost her job. This was 10 years ago. She lost her pension. She lost everything because she went against the system. And in that case, that's where it affects your family financially. If you're going to be a police officer, if you can't be one in that county because you've been fired, you got to move, right? You got to go to a different situation. You've been trained to do it. Go to a different state, go to a different county, etc. But that shouldn't be that situation, right? But it's like, well, am I going to take food off of my table for my family and, take the roof over their heads? Or am I going to stand up and make this change? That decision is very difficult.
Yeah.
But touching back, I wanted to say this a while ago because when I said I was one that doesn't believe in voting, I think I need to clarify myself in that because I don't believe in voting for the national side. I do believe in it in the local side 100%. Because why? The difference, we don't have the Electoral College. The Electoral College doesn't decide who your governor is going to be. It decides who the president's going to be, right? And that president is the face of the whole country. So that's why they always get that blame, even though there's all these people underneath that make these decisions for them. And that's where the problems lie. You've got Democrats on one side, the Senate on the other, as far as Republicans go, and it's conflict. It's who wants to be better, right? It's the pissing contest, right? Who wants to be in control? Who wants to have the last word, right? Instead of coming together and making the change. So I do.
It's only one country.
Right. There's only one country to control.
It just baffles me that, to have a pissing contest that you guys are going to be living in one country becomes the most difficult task to do. Especially when they're also living in it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would, I would pressure, the viewers, and I'll say this very boldly, is, be sure you're the type of person to do the right thing. I cannot fail at my job. You cannot fail at your job. I would never expect you to fail at your job. You teaching thousands and thousands of people, how to trade, both of you, and taking them on their pursuit to financial freedom. I would never expect you to fail. So I ask the viewers, why should you expect your local politicians, your local police officers to fail repeatedly? Your teachers, we can go on and on and on and on and on about people who are allowed to fail miserably at their jobs and still keep their position.
Yeah.
Bro, I feel you on that so much.
It's crazy.
It comes down to accountability, right?
Yeah, so it's like, what message are you guys delivering now? Like, you guys expect us to be comfortable for you guys are allowing these people to still have their jobs when it's being wrong. Head of the department is just brushing it off. They're listening to the higher ups. They're like, hey, listen, we have this under control. Just let him go, get dismissed. He'll still get paid. Like, what are you teaching now?
Yeah.
What is the value that anyone is going to take away from this situation? All you're telling them is like, oh, it's okay. So you know what they're going to be doing? They're going to keep doing it. They're going to get comfortable. And that's the problem that we need to eliminate.
It's accountability.
Yeah, there's no accountability. There's no acknowledgement for those actions. So like, for any cop, they're just gonna keep doing what they keep doing.
So and that's what it is, and people.
And then it's also even worse for their even partners allowing that to happen.
Correct. Exactly. So this always brings us back to what? Culture, moral, and ethics.
There's none.
And there is none of it. I mean, think about what our society worships, man. Okay. Now, don't get me started. I might.
No, let's go.
I might preach a little bit.
I
okay?
got time. I didn't become an entrepreneur for no reason.
But this
I'm not having London session tonight. So go right ahead.
We're gonna preach. We're gonna preach a little bit over here, man. So if you look at the way things are going, now I get most of my moral principles from the big book, the book called the Holy Bible. All right, I'm sure y'all heard of it, right? Yep. At the end of the day, I don't care what creed you are. If you're Hindu, I think there's truth in a lot of different religions, and there's something to be learned. Like I said, if you don't have to be a part of that creed, but there's definitely something to be learned, through reading different philosophies. And I will say this: there's a direct correlation with what is happening with our society as to what has been happening, for the last 10 years in this country. We've taken God out of schools first, okay? The liberal agenda has been, always pushing everything anti-God, everything anti-morality under the guise of freedom. They're calling it freedom, okay? But at the end of the day, to me, what it more sounds like is Marxist communism. Read a lot of the communist manifestos. Take religion out of everything. Encourage basically confusion, promiscuity, idolatry. We have hashtags that are saying abortion rules. Everyone's screaming Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. A doctor screaming Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Ask the doctor if black babies matter. Okay, when Planned Parenthood was created by a freaking eugenicist, all right, to kill black people. All right, look into that shit. This is all has to do with morals, ethics, and culture. And the fact that there is no moral guideline, because everything that our children are looking at on TV, in the media, is telling them to don't listen to mom and dad. Don't listen to God. Don't listen to your teacher. Worship yourself. Right? Worship yourself. Be the leader of you. And it sounds great until you dive into what that really means. Right? How is an 8-year-old going to decide what sex he or she is? And his or her brain isn't even fully developed. I said, and then we have parents encouraging that. I am definitely a person who is not, I'm not against the LGBT community at all. You know, I'm not against any of that. But when we get to a point where we're having talks in our country about putting kids on hormone therapy, you know, making them make those hard decisions at a very young age.
It's a great scenario with
Now
with Dwayne Wade's
the
kid.
the rhetoric that the left has pushed.
Yep.
I mean, we're having conversations of, you know, I'm a pedophile and I identify as a child, so I also should be able to do whatever I need to do with my lifestyle pertaining to that. It's disgusting, man. I have a little girl at home, you know, and I think every day how I'm going to put this girl on the right path. You know, when we have
so many distractions.
people worshiping artists
could be guided in different directions.
like Megan Thee Stallion, for instance. You know, I saw a little 7-year-old girl, man. She knew all the dance moves, all the lyrics, bougie, ratchet, this, that. I was like, and parents didn't say anything, nothing. And this is on numerous occasions. Just take a walk down the mall. You know, you'll see it. You'll see it anywhere. And then the thing is, you know, all these people who are, you know, for all these super progressive things are the first ones to sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, why are things the way they are in this country? This is crazy."
Because they don't take no affirmative action.
No affirmative action, no accountability, no worship of self.
It's like it's normal. It's just like it's like a casual thing. Like, oh, okay.
It's crazy. And I was having a conversation with my wife the other day. I said, when did it become not cool to be a man who believes in traditional family values and firmly believes that in Christian traditional values? I was like, because they've done wonders for me and wonders for my friends, you know. And I was like,
yeah, come closer.
oh, sorry, I'm getting too far from the mic. But yeah, I never thought I'd wake up and you know, me believing in the institution of a traditional family is a frowned upon, you know, opinion. And telling our children, you know, that you shouldn't be listening to Megan Thee Stallion and whatnot, and you should be, you know, listening to people like you know, famous scientists, philosophers, you know, reading about Alexander the Great, you know, people that really influence history, right? But instead, you know, we have 3-year-olds with their iPads unmonitored, you know, looking at whatever. We have, I mean, it's crazy. And like,
you have little kids that are going viral just playing with the most smallest little thing, and what does it take away from that?
Yes,
you can't. There's no value, you know, that you could take away that, you know, that could make your child grow to become, you know, the person that they want to be in life.
Yeah,
you know, we make all these people famous by using all the distractions that's just displayed. You know, social media, like, you know, it's a double-edged sword. You could use it to your advantage, or it could be the most greatest downfall for you. You know, so like, there's a lot of distractions that's out there, especially with everything that is just displayed. Like, you know, so, you know, like, that's why I really respect, you know, like, especially with you having your daughter, like, you know, like, raising a kid, especially in our generation, is the most hardest thing, hands down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, one, you gotta, you know, teach them, like, you know, having a culture, being the right person, even when things are getting thrown in your way, being surrounded by wrong people. Like, you know, there's a lot of evil shit that's out there.
There's a lot of evil,
you know,
evil demonic stuff.
And the only thing that you have is your mindset. That is the only thing that no one could ever take away from you.
And your voice.
Yeah, and your voice.
And that's, you know, I know a lot of people that feel a lot of the similar emotions that I do, you know, just like you guys, but are so afraid, you know, of saying anything because we're in this culture of political correctness, right? It's you know, screw you for voicing your opinion and speaking out against something that you feel is wrong. And you know, if you have a difference in opinion than I do, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
I am blown away.
Yeah,
I am blown away.
It's so emotional. Like,
I am blown away at the fact that I have friends where logic and reason is out the door. If we don't meet at the same emotional level in an argument, that can completely break
deter the
a friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a 10, 15, 20-year relationship, right?
Like it's crazy just for me saying, hey, this is what I believe, and here it is, and them saying, oh, well, I'm offended that you have those values for yourself, and we can't be friends, and I'm like, it's insane. It's insane to me.
And it goes back to having people, that should be uplifting you and telling you the real shit to your face.
Exactly.
But people can't deal with that, confrontation, the adversity, being emotional, because they don't want to hear it. They only want to hear what they want to hear. It's just a selective hearing for them.
Yep.
So, having, different beliefs and opinion should be okay. If we remove the emotion from it, then, our whole country could kind of be different. But
and you shouldn't be offended if you have a homie, who wants to have a real conversation with you and be like, hey, look, man, like the way your lifestyle is, I don't think is healthy for you.
Yeah.
I would be offended if I was doing some crazy shit and
you
were just cool with it. Like, you're my best boy and I'm going on the path of damnation and you're just letting it happen.
Yeah, it just becomes at a selfish standpoint that, okay, this is just benefiting me as he's doing that thing, so it's okay.
But I'm the type of person, I'm going to say something, but because I said something, in the current culture that we're in, now I'm the Luca doesn't have any tact. You're a little too brash.
Right.
You need to tone
I
it
think
down a little
that
bit.
has happened many times with our friends throughout the years.
Absolutely.
And actually
Absolutely,
just seeing
man.
that now, it's just like, damn. Like, just
Absolutely.
looking back at it, it's just like, he was just only giving them, what the reality for what it is. And they were just too emotional and they couldn't, bear it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just take it.
So, just to comment on that, it's kind of funny that's the end result of the situation is separation, right? Where as close as you and Ken are, as close as I'm close, with Derek, Ken, and Clive, and now that you're part of, being part of my circle is like a freaking decimal now, right? Yeah. But the reason why that closeness is supposed to be there is because Ken should be able to call me on my shit whenever it is.
Whenever.
And it's supposed to get me to be like, damn, that's an opinion that matters to me, right? Instead, the vast majority of people will just get offended and it's like, nope, I'm just going to go do my own thing. Because that's selfishness. They don't want to be told that they're wrong. They don't want to be told that there's something that they might need to check within themselves. I had a conversation with somebody the other day and they were telling me about how their bank account was completely eliminated because of some fraud shit, right? And the person that did it got caught, and without legal action, the person got beat down. And I asked this person, I was like, you ever consider the people that you actually engage with? Like, why would you
say it again?
Right? Like, why would you even tolerate this? If that's the case, you might want to separate yourself, right? Yeah. And I've known this person for 20 years. And that person was like, no, I've never thought about that. I was like, okay, you know what? For me, I'm out. I don't need you in my circle. I'm good.
Wow.
So, like,
those are the kind of people are scared of change. Like, they feel like, they get so emotionally attached for the history of what the friendship is, and then they lose almost respect.
Oh, here, finish.
Yeah. I think the perfect example is like, let's your wife, and I watch you cheat on your wife, every weekend. I was like, what does that say about me as a person?
Let me talk about that shit
Real
quick, because you touched on something that I had been a part of. I was that person at one point.
It's gonna get real
right?
spicy.
I was that person. Maybe I was brought into it without the knowledge, but I was that person. I was the wingman, right?
Yep.
And that person that was doing that, I questioned him, and I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You've got a woman at home that works, 8 hours a day, and at one point she worked 2 jobs a day while he didn't do anything. He didn't work. He went through 12 jobs in 1 year, right? And so the one situation that really stands out to me, he called me up. And this is after he got one of his jobs. He was like, yo, let's go grab a drink real quick. So we went to Iguana Max, which is on Alma School, right? It's closed down now. It's the Social Box or whatever. But we walk in. I'm like, yeah, let's go grab a drink. It's Friday night. We walk in. There's 2 females sitting at a table, and he's walking towards that. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? He was like, oh, you get that one. I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna get even more interesting because my fiance, my wife that I've been with for now going on 11 years.
Congratulations, man.
She was the one that was being cheated on.
Wow.
We'll talk off of this
Wow.
shit. This is gonna generate a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
But and I know this for the viewers that are out there that don't know my story. We'll talk about it off air. But long story short, the person used to be my best friend, and that started deteriorating everything, and it went on for quite some time. And it got to a point to where it just clicked in my mind that like this isn't right. Right.
Yeah.
Of course, it isn't right. It clicks for everybody at some certain time. Right. And let me tell you, the conversations that I had to have with my wife when those truths started coming out, because she was like, well, what did he do here? What did he do here? What did he do here? I was like, do you really want to know? She was like, yeah. I had to own up to that. So when you're talking about what does that say for you as the person that's wingmanning that situation, it was difficult.
Yeah.
And I have to live with what I allowed for so long up until I spoke up on it, right? I have to live with that. I have to look at my wife every day and be like, damn, I allowed this to happen. So what that does for me, in turn, I use it as fuel to be like, I'm looking at you, I love you to death, and I will never do that to you, right? Just on the strength of, it wasn't even me that did it, but I know how I felt then. I can't allow myself to ever feel like that, to be the one that does it to you, right? So it's just an interesting point that you brought that up, because like I said, I was in that spot, and it's not a spot that I would challenge anybody to even try out.
But you chose to grow.
Exactly.
And how much power comes with that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people who continually make the decision to not grow. And we can use that story, to talk about our society as a whole, right? I'm like, because my whole thing is, I'm like, dude, if you're going to cheat on what's supposedly the most sacred thing, in your life, who you come home to every day and spend the majority of your time with, let's say, and let's just for the subject matter, say the woman's a really good person, right? A really good wife, and what I think is, what if you can cheat on the most special thing in your life, what could you do to me?
Absolutely.
And then we live in a world that tells you that that's okay, and I'm supposed to be the friend who's okay with that, and I'm supposed to be the friend who's not going to say anything, and I'm supposed to be the friend who shouldn't offend people, and I'm the person supposed to be the type of friend who should not profess his faith. I'm the type of person who should swallow everything. That's what society's telling you to do, and I'm against that, man.
Yeah, it goes with everything.
I'm against that. If people, and that brings us back to accountability.
Yep.
You took accountability for that situation. You did the right thing. You grew from that. If we can encourage more people, to do the same thing, to do the right thing in whatever situation they are in life, we're going to keep moving forward. At the highest position of power, the tip of the spear in your company, do the right thing, and things are just going to manifest and happen. Things are going to work out. Ken's doing the right thing on people.
That goes back to even starting my first company. I was doing business with 2 wrong business partners, and I had to do the right thing, is refunding everyone that came in that whole entire month. You know, it was a big blow for me. But I knew in my heart I had to do the right thing. I couldn't move forward, and I couldn't take that as an example for me to grow, because I needed that situation to happen for me to grow. So now I prepare myself. If that scenario comes up again, then, you know, I'm mentally there. I already did it. You know, I've grown from it. But like that was an aspect, you know, I had to hold myself accountability for me to refund everyone, even if it's a big loss for me. So now I can still have that self-respect for myself that I did, and I did something good, even though it did not benefit me. I became very selflessness there. Yep. So that is our problem in our society. You know, people don't hold themselves accountability. They brush it off. They swallow things. Even like there are even times when myself and my brother would be in an elevator. You know.
Oh man.
Like, you know, as a black man, you know, I still have that. It's not just because we hit the gym every day. It's just that we swallow it in. You know, as you know, being as a white person, I'm just using it as an example, right? You know, being in an elevator.
We're using his white token.
Yeah,
right?
your white token, right? So, like, you know, being in an elevator, can't even say hi. When you even say hi, you know, they don't want to give you no eye contact. Stay as far away in the elevator. Like, it still happened till this day. Like, you know, like, or if you go to the grocery store, like, you know, they got to come up to you first for an assistance, but there's everyone else that was there. You know, like, it's not like I needed help.
Like what happened, you know, when we talked about the Scottsdale situation a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you know, like we were just eating, and just he felt very offended. I was just like, you know, like, because I was really caught off guard by it. You know, he was like, do you want to have a closed tab? I'm like, well, an open tab, right?
Yeah, it was basically, like I said, I was in the restaurant business for a long time.
Yeah. You know,
and I was just telling Ken, I was like, so the guy walks up to, obviously.
Yeah, I think it was a female, actually.
It was a female. It was female. You know, walks up to his table, you know, 3 black dudes. And, you know, she's like, oh, guys, you know, can I take a card for the tab? You know, and this is like dining. We're not at the bar. We're not like, but it's not like a club. It's not a club.
At a restaurant.
It was at a restaurant. And I told Ken, I was like,
so
I have never, ever walked to a table and asked them to do that unless like I had thought that they were sketchy.
So I looked at Luca and I low key felt offended, and I'm like, does this person? No. It was very low key. No, I was just like, no. I honestly, in that moment, I usually tip pretty good too. So I took that as offense, like, oh, she really thinks I'm broke, that I'm gonna just eat and just dip. So I didn't tip her. It was horrible service, like horrible. Like the fact that you could just say that.
I was gonna say,
with 3. No. I'm saying this, and I'm saying this in the most respectful way. With everything that's going on,
and the table next to us, just so I didn't do the, you know, a black dude with a chip on his shoulder.
Not playing the black card.
I was watching the other table. You know,
same waitress.
Just for reference, 2 white people.
Yep.
A tab was never asked. She never asked them to open the tab. They dined regularly.
Yep.
The other table next to us, paid attention to them too. Same waitress.
It was just only us.
Didn't ask them for that. I was like, I was blown away.
So did she want to keep a tab open because she thought you guys were just going to order like 5ths of Hennessy all night, or what?
who knows, man? It was.
I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous in a restaurant.
It blew my mind, you know, because we all. You know,
5 o'clock in the afternoon too.
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
So, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was just like, really?
So this touches on something for me real quick that I've now heard 2 different stories, because majority of my friends, even outside of what we have here, majority of my friends are black.
Yeah.
So I was over at my buddy's house the other day.
Well, you're definitely invited to the barbecue, man. I
can show you DMs where I get that from people that I've barely even met, even just through trading. But I'm over at his house, right?
Yep.
We're having a little session. We're chilling, right? And he was like, dude, you have no idea. His girlfriend came in. He's a little light skinned. He's half white, so he's a little light skinned. He's actually probably more like as light skinned as you are.
What's wrong
right?
with dudes that are half white, bro?
Nothing.
You got a problem with dudes that are
No,
half
no,
white?
nothing at all. Nothing at all. My reason for bringing that up is because his girl is just as dark as Ken, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's two different complexions there. Mm-hmm. Everywhere they go now, it's like for both of them. Oh my gosh, can I do this for you? Oh my gosh, can I do? Hey, can I get this for you? Hey, can I get this?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo. All right, so that's part of the problem that I have with the situation now is you have not only the type that continues to do the shit that's wrong, like what happened in the restaurant, but now you've got the over excessive that are like, oh, we've got a problem. Let me go ahead and at least make sure I'm okay.
Well, that's also, that brings it back to media. I do think that, as far as my wife is white, my daughter's mixed. My dad's white. I do think the white guilt is going a little too far.
Yeah. Trust me, I've had that. When all this happened, I had several people be like, "Hey, if you need," I'm like, "Look, please don't come because the situation is very hot, and now you're being awakened to what is really happening because." Everything is closed down. Like I'm fully aware of what your motive is for why you're reaching.
Well, it's sympathy versus empathy, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want your sympathy.
Yeah.
But be empathetic in the fact that and recognize what's going on.
Yeah.
Embrace that.
Don't minimalize what's happening, but also I'm still get up every morning and lace my boots up like everyone else, and I stand up with my own bootstraps.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, don't give me just be understanding of what's happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's asinine. I've heard a lot of, I've had some of my friends who are black, and I had to call out a couple of them too, because I'm like, listen, man, I said, what you're saying right now is pretty radical. And I was like, and you're using the same exact argument that white people use to put us in chains. I said, you're just replacing the word, nigga with white. I was like, but you see how asinine that narrative is, babe. Oh, we got to put them in chains now. Oh, we gotta, I heard something crazy. It was like we're gonna go to Scottsdale and rape white women. I saw that on social media, and I was like,
wow.
It's crazy. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum. Yeah. I was like, or what color you are, but if you come into my house and trying to do harm to my girls, I'm gonna kill you.
Right, absolutely.
That point blank. I'm gonna defend what's mine. And I think that we're going so far. We're going so far, in the, it's like, okay, truth, justice, understanding, right? Yeah. At the center. Let's be empathetic of what's happening. Now it's white shaming and screw you for being born white. And
isn't that part of, isn't that action in that sense just as bad as what's been happening for 400 years? So it's like,
exactly,
two wrongs don't make a right.
Because I'm always from the point where it's like the child should not have to pay for the sins of their father.
Right.
And that's exactly what a lot of radical people on the black side are doing.
There's actually a video that I saw. It was just an older man. He's been part of that history spectrum. He was tired of it. And he wanted to just react, and fight. And then it was just it was a person just around our age telling a younger, sibling of his,
16.
16. And look, he said that, look, if we don't make a change, it's all on you now. It's your generation that has to make that change. So I like that direction of how, making sure that not to react and revolve, because that's not going to go anywhere. There's no kind of progress anywhere, we need to come to accept for what the terms are and make the change happen and progress moving forward, because we can never go back and change history.
I think
ever.
We have a lot to learn from, I'm going to say it. I'll say it point blank. I think we have a lot to learn from Jewish people.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they've been through a lot. I mean, biblically, you could go World War II, where you could go anywhere you want with that, as far as Jewish people are concerned. And what did they do? They made sure that the next generation, World War II, after World War II, it would never happen again.
Right.
They all became doctors, lawyers,
They
producers.
became a very tight community.
A very tight community, always referring business to their own.
Yeah.
And I was like, but instead, in the black community, we destroy each other, we kill each other,
we attack each other.
We attack each other.
We create gangs within each other. Like
LeBron, all the philanthropic work, and people are still trying to discredit everything great he's done. I heard someone say like, "Oh, it doesn't matter what he did. Like he's still an asshole or whatever." I'm like, because of what he said on the court, in a competitive field,
because it didn't benefit you.
Like
that's the only reason
crazy.
why. If it benefit that person, they were like, "Oh yeah," they'll agree to everything that he does. Which becomes still having that selfish act.
Yep.
So
in that sense, like when I hear those, I'm actually part of a group that, like the guy that I work with, he actually writes, and he's I want to say he writes for the Miami Heat. So it's like an NBA writing group, right? That's our topics, and he knows that I love LeBron to death, right? I'm one that actually says he's better than Jordan, right? So we have this conversation going back and forth, and he feels that LeBron James hasn't done anything in this whole time. And I'm like, you know what? If you look to the quiet side, he's admitted he doesn't know how to make these demands right now because he's in this position of power, right? He's got this stage, but there are other things that he's done. He created a school, the I Promise School.
all I gotta say is that I feel like LeBron did a lot of shit off the court than MJ ever did.
Absolutely, facts, and that's the big difference.
MJ only cared about his damn brand. Like that's all.
I
And gambling.
100% agree.
And he supports prisons too. So.
Yeah, LeBron James put 42 people, 42 of his students that graduated. He put them through college completely. He spent like $47 million putting them through college.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Nobody's done that, right? So, and that's creating education. That's creating, more of a stronger presence within the black community, et cetera, right? So there's things that he has done that are beyond walking outside in the street of LA and looking at a cop and saying, "You're wrong." Right,
because we're in this cancel culture, right? Everyone who's done something great, we want to discredit. MLK, they're trying to discredit MLK for, I guess, the affairs he had. That's another thing that's going to be released. That I've been following.
Like JFK didn't.
They're gonna they wanted to discredit the founding fathers, saying like, oh, it was a bunch of rich guys who didn't care about whatever. Well, do some research. A lot of those rich guys put down their fortunes to defend the little guy. And there's granted, a lot of people were tainted by the time that they lived in, but if you look at our founding fathers, there's a lot of growth, within those guys. They're going to try and they're trying to discredit all our black leaders. They're trying to discredit philanthropists. They're trying to discredit change makers at the end of the day. And when I say they, I'm saying the media and the people that are sponsoring and backing that narrative.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because
and we're in cancel culture. Anyone real, anyone who's creating an impact, we're tear down black excellence. We need Young Thug on a pedestal. We need more rappers, drug dealers talking to the populace. We need to keep people on a low conscious level like that. That's literally what's happening, man. Like at the end of the day, it's like this. Over and over again.
So two things from that perspective. The first thing is the music portion. I feel that there's a lot of power within music, a lot of power, especially within rap and poetry. It's all repetitive. It's all based on a beat, a cadence, right? And what happens? You learn by repetition. You learn by all that. So there's certain things when you hear a rap song, a lot will resonate with you more than listening to, let's say, a country song, right? And I ask people this, not because I'm going to be 37. I'm what's considered as an old head, right? And so you've got this new age, this new age within hip hop rap. I don't even call it hip hop. I don't like calling it rap.
I don't know what to call it, man.
Right, I can't either.
I'm a '90s kid myself, man.
Right, so we're here, here, right?
Yeah.
So I can't stand probably 98. Like there's some things that I will tolerate,
Yeah.
certain songs,
Yeah.
but I can't tolerate really any of the artists outside except for maybe about 4 or 5 of them, right? And that would be like Kendrick, J. Cole, right? Couple, just to name a couple of them, right? When I sit here and I listen to what true hip hop is to me and what I've learned a lot from, what really got me involved into the point to where I really took like an actual interest in learning black culture. And I will always say this is the Black Star album. Most Def and Talib Kweli are Black Star, right? There's a couple of skits on there, but the songs that are on there are ridiculously powerful when you really sit down and listen to it. And it took me about 2.5 years to dissect the whole album, right? Over and over again. And even then, I still hear metaphors to today that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's mind blowing, right? So when I sit here and I'm like, this is what I appreciate. This is what I love listening to. And there's other ones that are out there. But just to talk about the ones that are in the form of a limelight, right, in the spotlight, that are known, that have been named, like Mos Def, Talib Kweli, what is it? Common's a big one. The conscious rap movement.
Oh, don't get me started
Right?
on that.
The conscious
Yeah,
rap music.
man.
The conscious rap music. It takes that for me. I wish I could sit here and I could say to every white person, and I literally call out every white person that's not educated into the black community, I would say, here's a catalog for you to just try and get interested into.
But the conscious rap isn't being pushed. I mean, we think about
It's a threat. That's why.
Exactly. Where do we go? Like, think about it, man. My grandmother was Smokey Robertson's secretary. She worked for Motown. I mean, I grew up. That was my household. I grew up in the Motown vibes. You know, I mean, and
Where are you from?
I'm from LA originally.
Okay.
LA, yeah. And so I listened to music throughout the times, and we went from, you know, Marvin Gaye, you know, talking about the atrocities that was happening with the Vietnam War and whatnot. You know, we got Erykah Badu talking about
Erykah Badu's great.
I want to drink the sweat of your intellect. You know, and like all that conscious rap. You got Common, you know, with all his stuff. J. Cole, you know, people really talking about, you know, their experience in America, their experience as black people. So how did we go from that to what everyone is pushing now is I can't tell you how many songs that I listen to just on satellite radio or on Apple Music that basically from the first song in the album to the last is Xanax, codeine, and promethazine all the way through.
Absolutely.
Every artist is little this, little that. Like
Pill popping, destroying your brain. You got Lil Xan, whatever, blah blah, like all drug abuse, you know, and basically lowering your consciousness, right? You know, degrading women, or degrading our African queens, you know, our women in general, women.
and talk about having an amazing queen. Like it's
Right.
contradictory.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You know, and it's crazy. Like the degradation of women really gets me because I have a daughter, I have a wife at home.
And it's sad because
Yep.
majority of them fall into that, and they feel like that is the best way to go about
I'm
it.
a bad bitch.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what
Oh wait! What was it last? It was a hot girl summer last year.
Hot girl summer.
why do we always get caught in these stupid ass trends and then pushing like that's the move?
I will tell you why, and that's because sex sells.
Yeah, the sex does sells to a certain extent.
No.
So Vegas.
Yeah, because they capitalize on it and they feel like that's the category that they need to be placed in for them to be aware. Because that brings out so many damn insecurities.
Yep.
They're not confident in themselves, so they feel like that is the only route that they can partake in.
And that's exactly what
And
what the media is pushing.
Yeah, and that's what the media pushes.
100%.
But then they will never acknowledge an intelligent entrepreneur or an intelligent woman in general.
Kanye,
You know?
I think Kanye said it the best. She gonna send a picture to the gram before she sends a picture to you.
Yep.
I said he homeboy over there. He don't got your bitch.
Right.
Instagram got your bitch.
Right. Absolutely.
You
Social
know,
media.
I'm just quoting. I don't even use that word.
She's not your girl. She's everyone's.
Yep, absolutely.
But like, and I see what's happening with our women, and it's like, but that's literally what the narrative is and what the media is pushing. Like my wife and I were having this conversation the other day. I said, when did little girls' clothes like for 7 and 6, 5, 6, 7-year-olds turn into like crop top looking like little hoochie mamas?
You see little girls that not developed wearing booty shorts, having their booty hanging out. Like, you allow your kid to walk out the crib like that?
And we're letting
Literally the crib.
and we're
Like, literally.
and we're castrating our men and our fathers in this world. You know, because everything in society is trying to clip you. If you get what I'm saying, you know, you don't fight for your rights. Don't say nothing to nobody. Don't cause a scene.
Right.
You know, you
Be quiet, let it pass.
Be quiet, let it pass. Walk away.
Right.
Walk away.
That's
Walk
what I was,
away.
That's what I was talking about, the consistency. If the consistency would be there, then the growth can actually happen, right? We would see a different view of these these protests if that continued to happen. But once it's not a headline, once it's not big name anymore,
It's not important anymore.
I'm going home.
We're witnessing it right now. The whole looting stopped. So, the protest is not important anymore.
Exactly.
Like, so now the media is now covering it. They're like, all right, cool. Let them protest. That's what they're gonna keep doing. Whatever it is, they're betting on us to be exhausted and tired from it.
I think
Because our attention span in America is like this.
yeah.
Everything
Thank you,
we want
Vine.
this.
Thank you, Vaughn. Right?
Vine, 6-second videos,
Yeah. Well,
which TikTok is now the
And then this goes to another issue. Why do we take the time to record when we can make that action right?
Yep.
So that is our generation. Hey, if you're not whipping out your phone, then you ain't doing it right.
Right.
You can't just give a homeless person your plate. You got to record it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, for the views.
Everything has to be documented.
People out here like this, like, hey man, here's $5. Hey,
Right.
you know, I'm like, really?
So what is his name? Arizona Zerwas, I think. It's one of these young artists that's out here. He has a TikTok famous song, right? He opens the song where it's him talking, and it's just 2 little statements. He said, "We're doing it for the gram. Bitches love the gram." And it's the song Roxanne,
Yeah.
Roxanne, right? But that opening is actually fucking powerful because it's like, damn, like bitches love the gram.
Yeah. I mean,
For one, you're referring to females as bitches, and 2, you're exposing that social media is what is the biggest thing right now.
and then our women in this country are so disillusioned by everything that's going on. I'm gonna call them all out right now. I'll say it. You know, and if you're a girl who's on this side of the coin, please listen to what I'm saying. We have our women telling other women, like, you need to start an OnlyFans page. Your worth is based. Your worth as a woman is based on your sexual. That's really what they're saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's in your mind or whatever. You know, go get yours. Go run them niggas up. I heard one girl talking about it in Old Town. I was like, I was just listening to this conversation. I was like,
My brother.
I mean, I was blown away. Like, women encouraging other women, you know, to have OnlyFans. That's literally
and it's
your
bad,
bread.
and it's sad
Make your
because
bread.
when my brother was working at security, he used to tell me this is a game plan for majority of some of these girls will go and hop into different sectionals, and then they'll leave, and they really will discuss. They have it like all game plan.
Oh my God.
They discuss who has the most money, that's spending the most, and leave home with them. Doesn't matter if they're old.
Oh my
This
goodness.
and that. You know, and then some of majority of these old guys will always be like, you know, they separate themselves, right? You know, they always in a little blazer, you know, like, you know, look like they don't even fucking belong there. Like, they don't even know how to turn up, but they know how to spend their credit cards and give out.
that black card.
Yeah, they got that black card. Put it on the card. And then they go home and then make their world wild. Do whatever it takes for them to spend the money. Be like, hey, look, you don't need to be with me. I'm gonna take care of you. And then you see them flying to different cities, right? But and then you see how their bank account set up. Like, you see where they're sleeping, right?
Yeah.
They're not sleeping in the best place. And I also found out from a really good friend of mine that I'm not degrading on any females that's working in the entertainment life. If you're a bottle girl, do it the right way. But some of them are, going into like those top end restaurants. So you got Mastro's, you got Toga, right? But you see them always going during the weekdays, right? Because they're working on the weekends, right? So they're going on the weekdays, and they can never enjoy going on the weekends because that's when they need to spend that money for them to live that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I would tell.
But it's sad. It's sad. Like I just like, to me, like, I'm not saying like, oh, I want to change my gender and feel like how a woman will feel, but it's just like, it's truly sad to, if you really want to value yourself, that you need to sink that low of insecurities, like, just to get whatever that to the bag.
But can't we agree though? We have a responsibility as men to let women know that they are the mothers of nations.
Yeah. If we hype them up and make them feel, this is a great repost that I had from one of my guy, Prince O'Donnell. Like, I follow him and he talks that real shit. If we hype our woman, even though like you're gonna have those days that your girl's gonna be like, oh man, I feel like shit, I look ugly. It's your responsibility to be the ultimate hype man for your woman. Absolutely. So she can feel very secure about herself, knowing that she has an accountability partner that's gonna be like, you know what, my man think I look sexy. And that's gonna build her confidence up. And when her confidence is up, she's gonna do everything times 5.
But it's not just that she's sexy; it's the fact.
Like just sexy, like compliment her like on a task, like every little thing, like you could think of, just be like, just being there.
And like, that's how I'm raising my daughter, man. It's not that, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, you're so cute, you're so beautiful. You are so honest, you are so intelligent, you are so kind, you are so loving. I mean, we really, really, really need to not only grow as men, but also as black men, really change, how people are talking, how especially our race are talking about women. I'm like, I'll say it again.
Like I feel like I can't picture myself, speaking to another female and calling them a bitch, like, degrading you like right here and be like, oh, go get me this. Like, this is not, I can't. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I'm ever going to be built. I don't surround myself with people that's like that. Like, because it starts as a man, for years that like all these years, the rape, the abuse, like thinking that you're just so damn superior, like, like you gotta treat your queen as she's molded as one, right? Give her the world.
Make love to her mind before you make love to her body.
There's not enough, especially in our generation, intellectual conversations. It's just like people feel they're so obligated that, oh, okay, since you're bad, you look good, but what's up here? Where's the intellectual conversations that we could actually discuss? No, you got to pay a whole damn meal for us to actually have somewhat of a small talk conversation.
At Ruth Chris, by the way.
At Ruth Chris, which is taking money out of your bank account, which you could have been just doing by yourself, watching Netflix, and could have saved that money for an intellectual conversation that would have been free $99. But we waste our time pursuing the wrong things and looking, oh, she's bad. I gotta be with her because she's gonna make me look good. Looks is gonna fade. We're all gonna be old and wrinkly. She's gonna probably keep getting Botox. Like, it's fine. Like, the personality, the intellectual conversation is never gonna disappear. And that is truly powerful. And that's where a lot of these dudes are just too small-minded and they're just little boys.
You want her to be beautiful, but at the same time, you also want to build an empire.
Yeah.
And you can't do that by talking about
but
Lululemon, Starbucks, and OnlyFans.
But we're in a generation that beauty surpasses everything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I just thought of this right now real quick. I was from just a quick comment that I made about American Express, right? Just a quick question, maybe rhetorical, but why is American Express the only one that actually treats value to the color black? It's an unlimited card, right? It's the highest card you can get. It's on a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that you ever think of that you see that actually is on that pedestal, right? There's a worth to it. I literally just thought of that right now. It's kind of crazy. So I was going to ask you this.
I'm over here saying like,
Hey, I got an Amex or something.
Do you have a black Amex?
I have the one right below the black.
But it's not black, so you're not excellent.
but it's not.
I got
right.
gold.
It's not black. It's not black. All right, but the main thing I wanted to ask you here, just kind of throwing it back a little bit when we were talking about those two wrongs don't make a right. We're talking about reparations in a way.
Yeah. Okay.
Not one person, just as facts, not one person in this world as a white man has owned a slave, right? Mm-hmm. Slavery's been over. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's talk about the literal sense of slavery.
Reparations. Wow, that's okay.
Right.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
So I saw this thing on the news. It's like how you don't punish, somebody for past actions that they had nothing to do with, right? Mm-hmm. So my question to you, just on the outside, and Ken and I talked about this a week and a half ago, and it was going to be brought up on the last podcast, but I'm glad I didn't, because getting a third party opinion on this is going to be great. I don't know who the person of power was, but he said, "Look, what I'm fighting for right now is that every black family in the United States get a check for $363,000 each for the reparations of what's been happening over the past 400 years." And that total amount of money is going to come out to $47 trillion, right? Do you think that there's a financial value on that, for one? And two, do you think that he was even right for even coming out with that type of a solution?
I'll say this right now. You can, just like what I saw with the stimulus check, I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna need the government to stop just printing money out of thin air. I just want.
We agree.
I just want that on the record. I mean, we're all in the financial business.
We agree.
It just comes back to the scenario. You're throwing money at a problem,
and
it's a Band-Aid.
At the end of the day, you can give people millions and millions of dollars, but I have seen time and time again that the money will end up in the same hands that the people are complaining about.
Yep.
White businesses, because I don't know if you've ever seen the
majority of the country,
the series on Netflix with Killer Mike. Mm-hmm. He did an 8-part series where the first episode,
you put me on game.
Yeah, where he actually, everything he did for a week was black owned, right? And he said it is so difficult to survive in a black owned world right now because there's so many limits. He couldn't get a cell phone. He went to go eat barbecue food from a black owned ran restaurant that was a franchise of a white owned business. So he actually had to turn the food away because it wasn't black owned from top to bottom. Because the dollar stays in the black community within, what is it? It's like every $1 stays in the black community for 3 minutes at a time, where it stays in the white community for a total of 8 minutes at a time. You're over doubled the time. The money is going to circulate more within the white community than it is within the black. And that's a problem. That is a huge problem.
But I think that
before we want to say Black Lives Matters, how about you support all black community? Because I don't see any of that. Especially even like when I go into like black owned restaurants, guess who I see the majority that's in there? More white people in there. Yeah. And then you have the complete opposite, waiting in line in the Gucci store, not truly investing in themselves. Like
I've ran into that, as in the black community, and you've ran into that. We've both done business, and we've seen it time and time again. You'd rather go purchase from a stranger than purchase from one of your own.
Yeah.
You'll support the next dude before you support your boy. But without digressing to what your comment about reparations, I am completely against that. In the sense that I think it would further discredit everything that we're trying to do in the black community, because
the history
then as a black man or a black man who make it, now all of a sudden I'm going to have people saying, oh, well, if he didn't get that check, he probably wouldn't have started that own business, that black owned business. So for me, I don't want anyone discrediting any of my hard work or anything that I've done to get to the position, where I hope to be one day. For me, my dream, I want to buy land. I want to start a farm to table business. I want to, really cultivate a community and give back. And I think I can make, quite a bit of money by doing the right thing and, teaching people a better way to live. And I don't want a $343,000 check in my bank account that will give people the opportunity to discredit everything that I'm trying to do for society, saying that if I didn't have that check, I wouldn't be in the position that I am.
Yeah, because it doesn't, there's no self-fulfilling.
And it's going to further increase the divide.
Yeah.
You
You're going to have people that have never had that money before, and when you have people that never had that money before, they're going to start doing the most reckless things that, they're like, oh, okay, so I have this money. I have access to this now. But there's no self-education behind, all right, so what can I do with this money that could create more passive income so I don't have to keep relying on spending so much money on what I just fully received.
But that brings us back to what? Culture and education,
culture
right?
and education.
Which
Which a lot in our black community we don't have.
the mind is the most powerful weapon ever created.
Yeah. We have access to everything. Everything is in a full blueprint. There's no there's no blueprint on how to become an entrepreneur. Everything is there. We just don't take the time to be like, oh, let me do my due diligence research and pursue it.
Yeah.
Anyone can be an entrepreneur. Anyone can own business. Anyone can own land. Anyone can do this. But no one takes the time to do it. But they'd rather spend their hard-earned dollar on someone else that's already made it, and then you're supporting them in a way, and you probably don't even fuck with them. But they're never gonna fuck with you.
But there is, I would say, the only caveat to what you said is there is an X factor. There is a personality factor. There are naturally, leaders and followers.
Yeah.
In this world, there are people who I see it, over and over again, who continually make the choice to work harder, not smarter, and who refuse to develop themselves and would rather be told what to do than to.
Yeah, some people, it just comes down to your personality,
And then I meet other people who constantly fail, and they never lose that momentum. They continue to do. And that's what that X factor is, right?
It's just reverse psychology. The more you fail in opportunity, if you stay consistent, the reward is going to be 10 times.
The endurance, the consistency, as you mentioned, consistency.
Yeah.
We talked about that several times, over this podcast. At the end of the day, there is an X factor.
Should we label this episode just consistency?
Well, you've got a title for it already.
Oh, okay.
But it comes down to.
Make sure we have that in there.
what we initially first talked about, in the first 5 minutes of the podcast, right? Is culture. So I think where we need to go is, what are we going to do as a society, in towards our pursuit of happiness, right? That's what our founding fathers were about at the end of the day. Pursuit of happiness, and for everyone to live or have a piece of that American dream. Where this is a country where you are able to do everything and anything, right? If you continue to move forward, and if you develop those X factors within yourself, and if you continue to grow. But there are things that are going to hinder that growth. For instance, we have, systematic racism. We have the inequality, of class, and that's growing exponentially. That's never been seen before, actually, at the rate that it is now. We have so many social issues. How a person will stop and rescue a puppy on the side of the road, but would never help a fellow human being on the side of the road. There's a lot of things that we have to do
and work, they're rather record it,
and exactly, and work on as a culture. To be better. At the end of the day, we need to be better. I know that I'm a flawed person. I know that I've looked in the mirror and have been disgusted by the person who's looked back. I've been there in my life, man. Well, I'm sure we all have. But at the end of the day, the difference is that we made the choice to look at that person and say, fuck that person. I'm never going to be that person. And I'm going to grow. And that's ultimately what this is all about, right? That's
Accountability.
That's what this
Again.
message is about. Accountability,
Right.
Consistency, growth, moving forward. And if we can get this to go on a societal scale, on a macroeconomic scale, I think that a lot of things will change, and holding our political figures accountable, holding our police officers accountable, holding our city councilors accountable. We have a voice. We are the people.
Right.
We the people, not we the corporations, not we the police officers, not we the LBGT community, not we the black community, not we the white community. We the people.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially with all these celebrities, all these influencers that we supposedly look up to, I'm highly disappointed with all of them. Because you guys have a huge platform. Some of you guys are using it, some of you guys are not. And most of you guys are just hiding behind because, the man upstairs is writing your paychecks. So what I want to see from them, if they collectively as a whole, we got IG Live extended to almost like multiple people. Have all these celebrities, all these influencers all coming up and making sure everyone that follows you be on the same page. I feel like that's how we could create the unity that we're seeking for. But no one is doing that. No one. Everyone is just like, they're just worried about their own image, their own brand, and it's just self-awareness for them.
Because of the culture. We're in cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
You say something I don't like, I'm going to block you. I'm going to take you off my social media. I'm going to write you hateful comments. I'm going to say you're a terrible individual for expressing your beliefs on a public platform. I'm going to say all these things. And then so our champions, what do they do? Naturally, what would you do if every single time, every day you went into your job trying to do the right thing and people were just tearing you up? You're going to retract. You're going to close up. You're going to close up. So, we got to stop this cancel culture. We got to stop this political correctness bullshit. We got to stop and think. Stop and think where we are going. Okay? What world are we leaving our children? What world are you and I going to live in 20 years? Why is it that our senators and whatnot are allowed to do inside trading and this and that, but if we do the same things, we're in jail for years and years and years and years, and with no bail, this and that? Why is it that if you're a white kid who goes to a university, you can rape a girl in front of people, and you're on the swim team, and you get off because we would hate for it to ruin your life.
Right.
But what happened to that girl's life? Like there's so many issues that we can talk about that bring us to, what is it? June 24th, right? June 24th, 2020.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons why things are the way they are on June 24th, 2020. So I beg everyone who's listening, man, just take a second off the gram, take a second off Facebook, take a second off Snapchat, and look at excuse my French, but look in the fucking mirror, and ask yourself, are you happy with the person that's looking back? Because I guarantee 99% of y'all are not happy with the person that's looking back at them.
All right, absolutely. And I think I had this conversation actually with my supervisor at work, and I said it and I thought about it after I said it, and it kind of really just kind of resonated a little bit, because I don't have a comfort zone. I can get out of a comfort zone quickly. Ken has always said he has no comfort zone, right? Do you have a comfort zone, or do you always challenge yourself a little more?
I prefer to be uncomfortable.
Okay.
I think being comfortable is the most dangerous thing that you can be.
All right. So with that thought in mind, let's take it back to the very beginning. Well, not even the very beginning, but at one point you told me I'm invited to the barbecues, right? That's usually the response that I get, because I understand black culture more than probably the next white person does. But what if you took that uneducated white person and invited them to the barbecue instead?
I think, man, I'll tell you what will happen. I will tell you what will happen. A lot of people, the majority of people actually that I've met that are more on the ignorant side, I'll be honest, it's not an issue with the color of our skin. It's a fear of the culture. They're
not used to it.
think about it, man. Think about it. Like we come out the womb, dancing, whatever. Like, our culture. It's loud. It's colorful. It's bright.
Right.
It's passionate.
Right.
And
It's flavorful.
and
It's not structured.
and coming from, granted, my father's not Anglo-Saxon white. He's Italian, which is a different kind of white. But
I'm Maltese, but I'm white as hell.
yeah, but I'm saying
My great grandparents came in through Ellis Island.
But traditionally speaking, if you look at like English history, with Church of England, Protestants, if you go through monarchy and that history, you will notice that like white Anglo-Saxon culture is very
Yeah, it's
it's very
just
they weren't dancing. It's a very like I don't know what the word is. If it's profession, I wouldn't say professional. Just I not bland. I can't find the word, but I think the cultures are kind of opposing.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a conversation with a friend. I was like, I was talking about how, when I was single, I met women, who were like, I would never date a black guy, and I was like, wow, okay. I understand people have preferences, right? But if I see a beautiful Indian woman, if I see a beautiful white woman, if I see a beautiful Chinese woman, we all know that there's baddies in every culture, right?
Hey, mine's Puerto Rican.
There you go. And at the end of the day, so I wanted to unpack that, and I talked to one of my friends, who was in the sorority lifestyle and was privy to all those conversations, and she's like it's not. She said I don't think it's the fact that like the fear of like being with a black guy, it's a cultural fear. It's like he's the music he listens to is different than mine. Mm-hmm. The way he speaks is different than the way I speak. Mm-hmm. The way his family is very different than the way my family. The humor is different. Yeah. The jokes I'm not picking up. So they make the unconscious or I don't even know, it might be slightly prejudiced decision to say I'd rather be with someone in my culture. Mm-hmm. I'm too uncomfortable.
It's like block barrier. Like
they
limit themselves of attempting to go to the other side, which would be more fun if they actually become more open-minded. Mm-hmm. But they just so used to doing what they're, especially with their parents, being taught, and that's what's normal. So when they do encounter someone that's just like not in their comfort zone and they have, a brighter culture, and stuff like that, it becomes so confusing. They're like,
yeah.
It becomes very overwhelming for them. Like they can't adapt to that. They're like, how could I be like that?
So I'm not and with my question, I wasn't necessarily referring to like let's talk about your Confederate flag, waving KKK.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking about the let's say just the uneducated, in the middle, white individuals that I think that is the type of thing that getting out of that comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Like trust me, I'll go eat a rack of ribs. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Let me grab a plate. But I think
for an ignorant person that's in the middle, they need to be thrown themselves into that like several times. It's not something that you're just gonna go in there and it's gonna just adjust.
Right, but they're afraid. They could be afraid to throw themselves into that situation without the invitation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those that could be listening to this that are like, well, I want to be invited to the barbecue too. I want to learn. But they're not because they just don't have that knowledge, right? I can sit here and I can spit facts of what I've learned as far as the civil rights movement, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. But that uncomfortableness from both sides to say, hey, you're one that doesn't know about us. If you're willing to learn, we'll teach you. And not just that, but from your point of view, if you feel like you want to ask us any questions, I'm open to this for those, because let's also be honest in the sense that for those racist KKK members, white individuals, right? there's also a group of black people that would completely dismiss me just
Yep.
because I'm white.
Yep.
Right?
That comes down to, I mean, in my academic career, you know, there's something that as researchers call uncertainty valence theory. All right. So naturally, all human beings are adverse to uncertainty. Things that make you uncomfortable, you're going to be a little bit more weary of. And to put that theory in layman's terms, I guess it's and that's natural with everyone, but it varies, based on the subject that you're speaking about. So one ignorant white person, might go into that situation, like I think of my father, for instance. Like, my dad is a white dude that liked black girls, in Italy my dad was born in 1947, so he's went through the 60s and whole 9 yards, and he's definitely talked about and stuff like that. But he was once that ignorant white person as well, and then fell in love with that culture. But that's based on the person, that's he based on that subject that we were talking about, right? He is the subject. Now, another ignorant white person can go into that culture and be like, whoa, and they can have a bad experience, or they can just be uncomfortable as a whole with the jokes or whatever, and they might never, I guess, dive deeper into those feelings. So I think all that can change with exactly what we're doing right here, having that dialogue. I mean, this is a multiracial table as it is. Like, Ken and I are very different, on the black spectrum. He's an immigrant, and he's has a Nigerian background. I have an African American background. We're both black. We're both in the same struggle, but even our cultures are different. You see what I'm saying? And there's beauty within that. And I think that's something that you'll see in a lot of cultures that aren't your own. But here we are at this very multicultural table, with all sides of the spectrum. We're shades, not shade, right? You're a different shade. I'm a different shade. I'm mixed. I have Nigerian in me, but I'm not full Nigerian. You see what I'm saying? And we're all having that dialogue about culture. No one's getting mad. No one walked off. We might have different religious ideologies. We might have different political ideologies. But here we are having that conversation. And I'm sure we are all growing in this moment, in that conversation. I think so. That's what it's really about, is that people need to have that dialogue. For everyone who's feeling strange or uncertain out there, like, walk up to your black coworker and just talk to them. Someone who you've never talked to before, or the Vietnamese person in your company.
Just start to learn to embrace and stop having to be scared to talk to another race and just have another conversation. Yes, our skin color is different, where we came from some type of womb. It's all the same, just different skin color. Like, to just going up to approach and having no conversation, not being scared. Like, just because the person is black, just because the person is white, that is how we're going to have to make that difference of a barrier. So if that person is smart and intellectual, cool. That person is smart and intellectual. Let's just move forward from that. We shouldn't have, a set difference. If that culture is different, get to know the culture is different. You can't be just scared and keep holding yourself back and keep sticking to your own culture. Then that you're not truly growing.
Yep.
You're holding yourself on growth, and that's what you're doing. So if you're not growing and getting outside your comfort zone, which it's always been preached about, then you're not growing. You're just lying to yourself at this point. Yep. So get to know different aspects. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I want to travel the world," but are you really saying that you really want to travel the world, or do you just like the views? Get to know the culture that when you're in that aspects, which I could actually respect. You took the time to learn a whole different culture, language, see how everyone moves. That's the whole point of growth. But if you're not doing that, and then you're the type of person that likes to post on IG, Black Lives Matter, and I haven't seen you spoke openly about it, or approach a black person and be like, "Hey, look, I want to make a change. I want to know about your culture. Like, tell me what you know that I don't know or I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
That is what we should be seeing, utilizing our platform. But everyone does the exact same shit. So there's no leadership. There's no growth. It's just the same things. So if, for example, if all this, sets aside, right? Is everyone gonna go back to their normal shit and posting the same shit? Quotes this, views this, like, come on. You gotta do better,
I think that's important, man. At the end of the day, we got to do better, right?
Right. Well, and speaking to the point that you were talking about with celebrities, and then also something that I had mentioned on the last podcast, I think for the Black Lives Matter movement itself, it needs to be a black built, a black culture, a black owned movement, right?
Yeah,
right now,
it's the black culture leaders stepping up at all.
It's all funded by Clintons and Soros.
I think I was
right?
I think a few weeks ago I was watching the man Marlon, one of the Wayne brothers, and the dude from 106 in Park. They're arguing about black-owned designer. So I'm like, you guys are bickering back and forth about black-owned designers, and there's something that's really happening that's really important. Like, come on,
man.
Like,
yeah.
all these, like, what? Like, that's what we're talking about, designer? It's not gonna be a designer if there's none of our culture. It just disappears. Like,
Well, and what I would like to see is when we're talking about these celebrities, because it doesn't necessarily need to be funded by
Man, I hate celebrities at this point.
by somebody like, let's say, George Soros or even the Clintons, right?
Yeah.
You could take people like LeBron James. You could take people like Colin Kaepernick. You could take individuals of that essence that have that capital behind them that can fund themselves, right? And I think that to me would mean a lot more, because I will stand 1,000% with what you said in the sense that all lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter. I will hashtag that all the time. I will say that as much as possible. I will reiterate that to any black person I know, any white person I know that says all lives matter, blue lives matter. Fuck that. All lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter, period. Right? So I stand for all that. But I don't stand for the group itself, right? I want to stand for the movement, but I would like to see the movement being, like I said, black owned, a black culture built, right? Something that is completely and utterly controlled by the black culture. And at that point, that's put to me saying I'm putting a stamp, and I don't need George Soros. I don't need Bill Clinton. I don't need this extra propaganda and agenda underneath this bullshit that is out here on TV, right? It's all to me like to a point like a facade, right? It's for show. It's for show. But I do think that there is the ability to make a change. And I think where I kind of wanted to go with this as well into the topic that I asked you right before the podcast, and Ken's like, save it for the podcast, right? Which is Colin Kaepernick.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I supported the hell out of this man. I stopped NFL support completely, 100%, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very successful at fantasy football. Let's say that, right? But I love the movement, and being a son of a woman who was the first woman to work on Top Gun. Not the movie, but the actual ship.
Okay.
Where my brother's father was one of the he was one of the maintenance guys that was on the ship as well. So he was in there. My father was in the Army. My grandfather was a medic in World War II, right? So I have military background, right?
Yeah.
But not once in my whole time that I supported Colin Kaepernick did I ever feel that it was military directed.
Thank
right?
you. Say it again.
It was never. It is never military directed. Yeah. That was a narrative to switch the whole situation. And let me tell you, my mother being 71, she was born in 1948, so she's right up there with your father's age, right? She got to see a lot. Being from Detroit, the culture from Detroit is crazy. My grandparents at one point, they were in the position where it was like going through the, all the civil rights movements and even the Great Depression, right? It was to a point to where if a black person owned or moved in right next to you, you moved out.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the culture that was in your Detroits, your Philadelphias, your New Yorks, right?
Absolutely.
So I've been able to learn from a lot of that, which is why I think I take a lot of interest in the black culture and black community, period, right? And why I feel personally that with as much support that I gave to Colin Kaepernick, and yes, he is paying for the protesters in Minnesota, he's paying for all their legal fees. Cool, good. But where are you right now? Oh, I'm sorry. You sold to me. You sold out because you recognize that you're going against a giant that is bigger than you. You're going against Goliath when you're David 5 years ago,
They've made
right?
movies about this scenarios over and over, and everyone's like, "Man, that's a great movie." But when it's fucking live in action, you take the fucking paycheck, and then you're like, "All right, thank you, I'm done."
And
But especially when this whole movement is happening, this is a great time for you to continue what you started.
and speak up louder.
Speak up louder.
Not louder in the I tried to hit I told you so 5 years ago, but in the sense of we've got this momentum. Let me step up. Let me be in the media, right?
Yeah.
Let me do something where I don't have to be on CNN, but I'm going to be recognized because if media attention is what everything is going to right now, and that is ruling everything, use it to that advantage, right?
Yeah.
But part of that agreement, there was a gag order in the sense that he got paid from the NFL to drop the case, but now he has to kind of be quiet on the back end. He like I said, he divvies his money in certain areas, but why would you ever settle for something like that if you're that involved, if you're that big on it when you first started? So my first question is, being in a position that you're in,
Let's just be real. That dude signed a non-disclosure. Got paid.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the original movement? And then two, how do you feel about it now that the settlement happened and money was involved?
Okay, so a lot of things to unpack here. So I would say I was blown away when the Colin Kaepernick situation happened and how many people I saw bashing him, destroying him, tearing him to pieces, saying that he disrespected the troops and this and that, and one of our own was, told him that was the way to do it, to respectfully kneel, something in the military that, that's done. And a Green Beret actually told him to do that. For anyone who doesn't know that story, definitely look into that. And so I'm with you 100%. I never took it as a disrespect, to our troops or anything like that, or myself, or I didn't think that at all. And I do agree, fast forwarding, what are we at? Probably 5 years, right? 5 years. That I'm here again blown away, because I was in the fight with Kaepernick. And I'm blown away at the fact that he has been so silent, and basically took the money, and finding out that, was all of this for the black community, or was it all for the paycheck? Were you doing it all the while knowing that Nike was paying you more than your 49ers contract was paying you?
$25 million?
It's yeah, man, it was a hard pill to swallow. It was a hard pill to swallow.
Trust me too.
It was also a hard pill to swallow, right when all this is happening, after the comments that the NFL made, and all the pundits and, the situation with Robert Goodell and everything.
Honestly, the worst NFL commissioner I've ever.
Worst commissioner, period.
It was crazy how they blackballed Kaepernick, vilified Kaepernick, just like, the statement that I was saying in my thoughts that I wrote, about how if you're a black person in our society and you choose to champion justice, how you're silenced, you're vilified, and that's what Kaepernick was doing, and that's what the NFL did to him, and then not what was it, 2-3 days into the riots, they come out with this big statement. We completely support the Black Lives Matter movement. We're completely behind it.
The NFL draft, the opening to the NFL draft was hilarious because that's what he was talking about, Roger Goodell, and I was like, you've got to be kidding
we
me.
we don't want. And then I still remember all the fans, 5 years ago. Oh, I don't understand why you have to bring your political views into the game. I don't understand why we have to bring politics into football. Well,
It's a stage.
the NFL in recent times basically turned into a political platform where we do the Pledge of Allegiance and the flag gets rolled out and all that stuff.
Yep.
I said, politics was brought into sports way before Kaepernick. I was like,
absolutely.
and here again, I said, if you're black in this country, we don't want you protesting on the field. We don't want you protesting off the field. I don't want you protesting outside your house. I don't want you protesting in your house. I don't want you protesting all. I need you to be quiet and play football, boy.
Shut up and dribble, right?
Shut up and dribble, boy.
I'm gonna tell you about Patrick Mahomes' contract. So he had like some type of injury, right? He had a knee injury, whatever, some type of injury. They limited him that what you can do and what you could do.
Oh, when he dislocated his knee.
Yeah, you can't play basketball outside. Like all this precaution, because you are just a price tag. Like when I look at athletes to this day, I'm like, you guys are a price tag. I had a choice of either I could have played basketball overseas or won in the D League or whatever, but I was looking at the bigger picture, right?
You don't want to be a product.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a product. You're being a product being shipped from team after team, telling you that you're good or you're not good. Oh, this is what we're going to pay you. All right, cool. Guess what? We'll let you go. We'll find another one. We'll find another product. And that's what a lot of these athletes are doing. They get so caught up, get all with the fast life, the entertainment, the distractions. You even have your bookkeeping taking you money away because you're not aware or knowledgeable what you're spending your money on. You have friends and family that just try to pick everything that from you. But at the end of the day, you are a price tag. The more you realize that, the more you're going to be like, damn, there's levels to this game. And there's the reasons why when a lot of even Delonte West, right, got that whole issues, taking drugs. You think the NBA is going to care?
Schizophrenic.
Yeah. They don't give a fuck. As long as you made the money.
Homeless.
Yeah, he's homeless.
He's homeless. It was actually on social media not long ago where he got beat up in the middle of the street because
was there any justice for that?
With his actions, he's not a normal individual, right? And something happened, and he got beat up in the middle of the street. It was all over.
It's cool. Media. I'm not trying to discredit for anyone as being an athlete, but just know that when you're coming in, it's a business.
Absolutely.
Your name is all you have.
Jay-Z said it. He's like, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what, to me, entertainment is about right now. But I got a question specifically for you, being in the military, in the sense of, what is it when you do your services, right? What is it that you fight for?
I swore an oath to defend the Constitution.
All right.
And that's point blank.
And what's the first Amendment in the Bill of Rights? Freedom of speech, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So you fight to defend that, right? Even though, I would challenge you to listen to our last podcast because I have a feeling, I have a personal feeling the Bill of Rights and Constitution needs to be rewritten, to be honest with you. Because there's always a protection for the other side. There's always, you could do this, but, you know what I'm saying? So high level overview, that's what we talked about. But you go over there to fight for that right? So if it's not being utilized, being in the military, wouldn't you be wasting your time in a way?
For me, man, it's a lot bigger than that. It's at the end of the day, whatever is happening, wherever the administration is leaning or whatever, I find comfort in the Constitution and the fact that I'd say most Americans don't realize that freedom isn't free.
Right.
I do not have the same freedoms as you do with
facts
within the military. But at the end of the day, I'm totally comfortable in the fact that I fight for, the neo-Nazi, on the furthest side of the right, and, for the person at the furthest side of the left who, is cool with killing babies and everything involved in that side, which I don't agree with. And I also fight for the person right in the middle, and I fight for everyone in between. I don't get to make the decision, who we fight for. I make the decision to fight for what we fight for, which is the Constitution.
Right.
And anything that violates the Constitution, I'm obviously against. And I have seen, a lot of citizens, and their rights being violated. And that's, at the end of the day, what a lot of this Black Lives Matter movement is. That's a lot of what's going on with the police, and we desperately need, reform within the police departments. Throughout this whole COVID thing, I mean, there's I wish, man, the name's escaping me, but he was just removed from his position as a police officer. He's former, he was a special operations, I can't remember what branch, but he was basically, made a big statement about everything that's happening with the pandemic, and he himself being disgusted at seeing his peers cite people for exercising their constitutional rights, assembly, practicing religion, and that's something that he decided he couldn't stand by. And I take comfort in the fact that if it ever comes down to the point where I have to do something that I do not stand behind, or something that's deemed unethical, again, within the Constitution, we don't have to follow something that's unethical and deemed unconstitutional. So I think that's what it's very easy to get lost, with between administrations, and who's saying what about this and who's saying this about that. And that's why I said previously, it's really about, if you have an issue with something, you have to really go out there within your community and, change your community through at the municipal level, at the county level. And that's really going to change the dynamic of our country, because at the end of the day, you can't control, who, you really can't control who the POTUS is or what administration. And an administration will come and unwrite everything that the previous administration did, and so on and so forth. Republican, Democrat, there's things that I didn't agree with, in multiple administrations within this country, right? But at the end of the day, I can't, I would never go against the people appointed over me, and I would never pray for the people appointed over me to fail, because I would never want America to fail.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And
so
I respect that 100%.
So I go home, and definitely what's in my prayers is I pray, that our leaders make the right decisions and that God is with them. And yes, people die when, poor decisions are made. That's the nature of the world. At the highest levels in life and also at the lowest levels in life. A person who's in charge of a crosswalk, escorting kids across the crosswalk every day, if they fail at their job, a kid can die.
Yep.
If I fail at my job, people can die as well, right? If administrations fail at their job, people can die.
Absolutely.
That's the way the world is, right? So we can only control in ourselves how we react to a situation, how we, are going to go through adversity. I mean, me specifically, I'm dealing with tons of stuff in my life. And, bad news I've gotten and things that definitely might change the direction for me as far as everything's concerned, with service and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the thing that I can control is my reaction to something. The thing I can control is how I treat other human beings. The thing I can control is, the passion in my voice, when I speak of something. The thing I can control is to make sure that I'm someone with credibility, that when I speak, people listen. When I speak, I follow through. I might not always make the best decision, but I try to be the person that makes a decision, and isn't paralyzed by fear. That's ultimately what this all means to me. And I think that regardless of what job you have, it's trading Forex, if you're a CEO, a firefighter, a police officer, a crosswalk, a janitor, a mechanic, anything, you can only control, how you react to something and who you are as a person, right? At its core. So choose to be the better person.
Oh, I agree.
That's ultimately what it's about. And when things are wrong, speak out against that. Do it in the correct way. Obviously, like cursing someone out or a commander or something like that is never gonna get me anywhere. But granted, I can sit down with people appointed above me, below me, and have those hard conversations if need be.
Yeah.
The dialogue, that's what we're about, right? Dialogue, culture, everything that's going on is dialogue, culture, morals, ethics, and I keep repeating that, but that's ultimately what it is. There's a way to go about things. There's, and you can do that by doing the right thing, staying true to yourself, and again, doing the right thing. That's always what it comes down to, right?
Well, it also, you have to check yourself in those conversations. And I've always said that progress is made when we have conversations like this, right? If I let my emotions get into it and we start arguing, it's going to end up going nowhere, because all I'm going to do is be yelling for you to hear me. You're going to be listening to react rather than listen to make a change, right?
Yeah.
Or listen to understand. There's a difference between listening to react and listening to understanding, right? And that's where people need to put that fucking emotion in check. Emotional. I was reading this today because Venus, my fiance, brought a situation to my attention, and I actually posted about it. Another innocent black life that died, and this was back in August. But the story is just now getting out. It was a kid in Aurora. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Elijah McClain. And if you haven't, the video that's on YouTube that's been released is absolutely horrible. He's a 23-year-old introvert, special, different kid, right? And he was killed by police by an abnormal amount of ketamine to calm him down. They doubled the dosage, and with ketamine, you're supposed to inject it within a minute, and they took 5 seconds to inject a double dosage amount of what his body can hold. And he died. He went into cardiac arrest, and he died. His family had to take him off life support.
Lord have mercy.
Right? It's unfortunate in those situations. It's sad, and I hate even talking about it, that these are the situations that are happening, but it's that kid, it's Tamir Rice, it's Philando Castile, right? Where nothing is done right in those situations, and they're all based on reaction. Tamir Rice, 11-year-old kid, died because a policeman reacted to him playing cops and robbers with a toy gun. Like, he was shot from 20 yards away by a grown-ass man, 11-year-old, right? Breonna Taylor, that name is just coming out, and she died back in March, right? These are the people that we speak about and speak for. As far as it's unfortunate that these are the names that we even have to say, because in a way they're being idolized for something that should have never even happened, period. Right?
Yeah.
So if people just step back, like you said, do what's right, think about what's right, control that reaction, right? We wouldn't be in this situation, but people react to fulfill their own self needs, right? To make themselves feel better, that they're doing what's better for them and not what's better for everybody, right? Even if it's a mistake, and then to hold them accountable is absolutely ridiculous. It's complete injustice in the sense that none of these cops, the cops from Aurora that killed Elijah McClain, the DA for Aurora, Colorado, immediately let them all off because he saw the video and he said there was no police wrongdoing. The only thing that the kid was being even approached for, somebody called in and said there's a kid walking down the street with a ski mask on, and it's August, it's dead of summer, right? And the dispatcher was like, well, do you even see him being a threat? And the caller was like, absolutely not. It just looks weird, right? Cops pull up on him. 43 seconds later, he's on the ground. He can't even explain that the reason why he's bundled up the way he is because he's anemic. He's cold all the time. So he's got a ski mask on to keep himself warm. And next thing you know, it's excuse. Oh, he reached for my gun. So he threw him on the ground. And then everything else happened after that, right? And none of those cops are being held accountable for the situation. So, of course, I use social media like other people do. And I use it to make awareness in a sense because that's the platform that we have. That's why we're doing this right here, right?
Yeah.
This is a social media platform that we're utilizing to bring out this issue, but in an uncomfortable way. We've talked about a lot of uncomfortable shit within this conversation.
Yeah.
But there's progress that will be made regardless, right? So with the last part that I would leave is I want people to think about this, and it comes from that album that I talked about, Black Star. Mos Def actually said it within a song called Thieves of the Night. He said, long barrel automatics released in short bursts. The length of black life is treated with short worth. Right?
Wow.
People need to think about that and understand that if that's the way the black life is treated, either A, everybody needs to be treated that way, or B, we need to make a fucking change and make sure that that statement becomes untrue. Right? But how do we do it? How do we do it?
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ken?
I think I said my piece. Like, I know we could go on all night about this discussion, but, you know, like how we've usually talked about, you know, it's accountability, you know, embracing for what culture that we could develop and everyone lead. Unity has to come into play. Like, you know, injustice on both sides with the black culture being educated, you know, the whole police department being educated, and not giving that sight of having people going against the law. Because it's just what we're just really witnessing. Like, when is it okay to have murders happen and not have any consequences for it, or people going to jail and then getting out of bail and continuing this madness that we're witnessing? So like, there's a lot of doing on both sides, you know. So it really starts with, you know, with us, because we hold the majority of the mass of this country. Without us, there's no country. And the more that we realize that, the more that we are in control, not the higher ups, you know, the ones that are playing all the bigger strings, because without us, you know, their bank accounts are not being fed.
America was built on black backs.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. And that is another discussion I do not want to talk right now, because that's a whole history lesson book.
Absolutely.
You know, so, but that's what it really comes down to. Like, you know, like we got to do better. What we thought, you know, to white people that think that, you know, America's great, but it's not. You guys were living in a false reality, and this is what the reality for what it is, and it's beginning to awaken. So,
I would say America, from our inception, has been pursuing greatness. I think that right now, and for a long while, we've definitely lost, you know, as a whole, we lost our way.
Yeah, I was trying to be the number one in the world.
And
That's
and the thing that really concerns me, and like I said previously, how we're united in uncertainty at this point in our American history, and
it begins
how
it begins hard to say that we're United States of America. Like,
how little people seem to care about what's going on. How many people are sleeping, how many people are comfortable with their rights slowly being, taken away and eroded. That's what I'll leave this with.
Yeah.
That's my concern. And I think my call, to all the viewers is to educate yourself and to know your constitutional rights,
that's very important.
to arm yourselves, to get that necessary training, and use every resource available to you to become a better person mentally, physically, and spiritually. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? Use all the tools provided for you, especially for Black people.
Yeah.
In this country, it's like, how many people can you think of that have no idea what their rights are in this country?
Majority of everybody, but that also entails to the point of why. I mean, it's good to be educated in knowing your rights, right? But why does somebody have to recite the actual statute number with the verbiage of the actual rule, right, whatever it may be, for officers to leave them alone? I think that's highly unfortunate to a point. You should be educated, but it shouldn't have to go there.
I can even take that further. Why does it take countless hours of study, education, exams to understand law, right? Lawyers we would all agree are highly educated, and they've taken a long time to get to that point, but yet it only takes a short amount of time to basically dish out the law.
Right. Absolutely.
And it only takes a short amount of time to be given the authority to arrest people for violating the law. But someone has to study years and years and years and years and years, right, just to be able to practice law. Okay? But someone who is arresting you, at a lot of times with everything that's coming out with the videos, violating, your constitutional rights. It's scary how we've given so much power, and trust in that system. And there needs to be quite a bit of reform. There needs to be a ton of psychological testing done. There needs to be encouragement in the peer group, in the police force, to not protect your own, but to speak out, against things that you see are completely unacceptable.
Yep.
Same thing that's expected for us to do in the military. If we see something wrong, we are definitely encouraged, to speak on that and to call that out for what it is, which is wrong. I've talked to firefighters and police officers. My brother-in-law is a police officer, and he sees it. Just talk to cops. Talk to a lot of your good cops and ask them how, what that's like, having to, start an internal investigation, on your own.
It's difficult, it's hard, and you're putting yourself in a position
exactly
that is very compromisable.
Exactly.
Internally and externally, but it's interesting. And I think what I would say, just is, if anybody's going to take anything away from what I've said tonight, right? If anything, instead of having, as far as religion goes, right? When you're wearing a cross and you have Jesus on your cross, or when you look at the cross and you see Jesus, How did he die?
He died in pain.
Right, but he died with his arms open, right?
His arms open.
Instead of having these arms up and fists, we need to embrace and take that into consideration, have our arms open to embrace each other. And if you're going to have your fists up, make sure it's directed at the right party.
And what did he say? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Exactly. So,
And here we are.
I have a whole different perspective on religion. I'm a confirmed Catholic, right? But I've been to Jehovah's Witness meetings. I've been to Mormon services. I've been to Baptist services, right? I've been to it all, so I can experience.
You saw what's out there, yeah.
Right? So I can experience it, even though my roots and what I am is confirmed Catholic. I don't agree with everything within all of it, but I think we can all learn from the collective details because they all kind of follow the same instruction manual, which I've said multiple times. My acronym for Bible is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, right? It's from a movie, a comedy movie, but it makes so much sense, right? And literally, if the biggest thing if you take away is treat people like you want to be treated, right? Let's love thy neighbor, right? Take it away. Do something like that, right? Don't chastise somebody for being a color, being different, or anything. Embrace it.
Galatians, but through love serve one another.
There you go. That too. See, there's good parts to it all.
There's so much, there's so much. I'd say, this is great. It's a great discussion, man. And I just hope that people all over the country are having these discussions, having these discussions without fear of, what their superiors might do. For everyone who's in a position of power, who's a manager, who's a boss, who's a commander, who's a chief, or what have you, anyone who has people appointed below them, I beg you to listen, and meet your people, from a level of understanding and not a level of judgment.
Yep.
And I think that in itself will do wonders for the world,
Agreed.
Man. All right. We definitely discuss a worldwide conversation of what's happening in our economy, how we feel about it, what should be taking place, how to improve it. Once again, I want to appreciate you for taking the time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
I appreciate you,
Anytime.
You could have been at home, holding your daughter on your arms and keeping her safe, but you chose the time to be on our episode 39. So, very, very great discussion. Because all this really affects, also in the markets as well. So I don't want anyone to get carried away on what we're talking about, but this definitely plays a big role with a lot of manipulation happening, big investors pulling the strings, and that's just what it is. And we just got to move and trade on how market conditions is giving us. So, I hope for all the viewers, take the consideration of what has been said during this episode. Make sure you guys don't forget to like, subscribe. And if you guys really like for us to continue on this topic, which I feel like it is going to be a continuation of it, stay tuned for episode 40. Damn, we really have hit that number.
A lot more to come.
Yeah, a lot more to come.
A lot more. And let me tell you, from this side of the table, bro, you're welcome at this table.
He knows.
I appreciate it, man. I support everything that you guys are doing. I think this is it's a big step in the right direction. The fact that you guys are using a platform to do some good in the world, to change some lives, and at the end of the day, to create an impact. What you do for yourself will die with you. What you do for other people and for this world is immortal.
That's leaving a legacy.
And that's what it's about at the end of the day. History. You're not going to write history by serving yourself.
Major facts.
So everything that y'all are doing is it's pretty incredible. And I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity that I've had to share, you know, and being able to come and, you know, talk on the same level, you know, multicultural vibes. We had, you know, we went from politics to COVID to, you know, race, inequality, gender. We touched on it all. And again, we don't want anyone to be offended. All right, this is just the real. And
there's emotion removed from
emotion removed. There's no reason that you know, people with a difference in opinion cannot come to the same level and have an intellectual conversation and discussion and talk about the things that are happening in this country.
Facts.
So
Thank you again, Luca.